Hey guys, it's Courtney from Cosmic Clarity Astrology, and today we're here to talk about the lunar eclipse happening in the sign of Virgo. And you can see the chart on the screen for what this full moon, aka lunar eclipse, is going to look like. So let's break it down. This is happening March 14th, and it is with the south node. You can see the moon and the south node are together. What makes an eclipse is the sun or the moon being near the nodes. So the sun and the moon being near the nodes, I should say. So what this is going to represent is usually something around letting go. The south node is already about letting something go, and the full moon is representative of some kind of culmination experience, having a realization or having something come to completion or making a decision around something. This is going to be a culmination that started at the Virgo new moon. So this happened on September 2nd when the moon was at around 11 degrees of Virgo. And what's interesting about this new moon and this eclipse, they are both opposite Saturn. So there are really strong themes that carry through from this September date to now. And some of those themes can be Saturnian in nature and, of course, Virgoan in nature. So Saturn and Virgo tend to be a little bit critical. They tend to get worried or try to improve something in a very practical sense. They're very focused on kind of what's needing improvement here. In the body, Virgo's process has a lot to deal with the process of discrimination. So it will look at the things that you digest, for example, and it will throw certain things out that are not needed or not good for you, and it will help assimilate the things that are useful. So, excuse me. So, a really big part of Virgo's role is to be able to see the flaws in something and again to see how you can improve something. Saturn is also really good for this because Saturn helps us see something in its most realistic form. What does this really take to get better at? Like, what do I need to sacrifice? What work do I need to put in? And it gives us, again, that kind of realistic mindset around what something takes. So there could have been some kind of viewpoint or event or some kind of desire that manifested around this new moon. I was looking back at my personal diary and I was writing about I'm a Virgo rising, so this is in my first house of the self, and I was writing about what would my dream self be on that particular new moon. There were some other events going on around that time around relationships that were kind of stressing me out, so it wasn't always just positive like that, but there was this focus on how to reach some kind of level of perfection, which is a very Virgo thing. And so that's kind of a constant struggle for me, is trying to be perfect, but there's always the reality that humans are not perfect. And there can be that juxtaposition during this eclipse as well as this new moon that happened in September, where we're striving for something that is always a little bit unattainable. And the fact that we are striving does mean that something is moving forward as a result of those efforts. However, we might feel like we're always a little bit lacking, that we're always a little bit behind, that we're never going to reach that goalpost. And maybe that goalpost keeps on moving further away. So whatever ideas, events, or things that you desired around this new moon in September are likely to be coming more to fruition around this Virgo lunar eclipse. Fruition doesn't mean that you suddenly get everything that you wanted, though it could represent the journey of that. But I really feel like it's more of the energy of that period is reaching some kind of peak. So it could indicate that you are finally ready to implement some necessary changes, or maybe if you had a specific desire, or some situation came up in your life, maybe at that time you made certain moves and you made certain changes then, and this full moon could show some kind of evidence of those changes and further realization around what else needs to be done. Because, with an eclipse like this opposite Saturn, there is this feeling of the past being really involved here, or things not being complete. And this is going to be especially true when it comes to elements of your relationships, your physical appearance, your finances, and your overall values and priorities in life. And I say that because the ruler of this eclipse is Mercury. Mercury is the planet that rules over Virgo, and Mercury is very closely conjunct Venus, which is retrograding throughout the whole month of March. So Venus retrograding throughout eclipse season is not coincidental. It is a time when we are meant to be shifting through our priorities and our values and looking at our relationships under a fine-tooth comb, or looking at how we treat our bodies or our aesthetics and our money and all those things that I mentioned. So this eclipse is a chapter of that. And eclipses are these really potent times for change. They are kind of these portals that open within the universe that stimulate the energy, and they catalyze things, and they bring about really fated events that help us align more with our kind of soul's journey. And those events are not always easy. They're often not even predictable, but they are things that help us accelerate our timeline in some type of way. We might make certain decisions very quickly, or we might meet somebody suddenly, or have a realization that around someone, or that we're in a relationship that we can't unsee, for example, during an eclipse. So with the planetary ruler of this eclipse sitting next to Venus retrograde, I think a lot of us are going to be considering those different areas of our life that I mentioned under a new microscope, and be making certain decisions around them. And those same ideas or thoughts could have been something that we were, again, already kind of considering or thinking about or working on back in September earlier last year. So one of the things that I think that we need to be really careful of, that I've kind of already touched on, is the fact that Virgos are really good at seeing the flaws in things. And so right now we could be feeling particularly hard on ourselves and maybe judgmental of ourselves or others, especially with Venus retrograde. It's like we're less likely to see the beauty in ourselves and others in life when Venus is in retrograde, especially in Aries, where it doesn't like to be. So having all that go on does kind of indicate that we might have a more myopic or zoomed in perspective of our lives. We could really stress out and focus on the flaws that we have, on what we're doing wrong, and it could give us the potential for anxiety. The events that transpire now are likely going to feel stressful, especially on relationships. We might be, again, critical of one another, or have a hard time kind of coming to terms with something that somebody else has decided, for example. There's a lot of ways that this can manifest. But there's this feeling of, maybe I'm not really where I want to be, and I need to make necessary changes. The last time eclipses occurred along this axis was in 2015 and 2007. In particular, 2007 is a little bit more accurate because that was when the South Node was also in Virgo and the North Node was in Pisces, whereas in 2015, things were opposite. So maybe you look at March and September of 2007 and you kind of look at what was happening during that time, because there can be a reoccurrence of themes. So again, a couple past dates to look at would be September 2nd, roughly around then, for the new moon in Virgo that initiated this cycle that is going to complete around this eclipse. Although eclipses do have this kind of window of 6 months after where things fully come together. So you might see some initial evidence of something coming to fruition, and then over the 6 months, it completely plays out. The other date, again, is March and September of 2007, when eclipses were happening here. So this is just kind of looking historically what was going on, because I might see some mirroring. So in general, this Virgo eclipse is going to help us see what is familiar in our life, what is in our everyday routine. Virgo rules over the health. And that's why with the South Node in Virgo, I've been noticing so many more people have been getting sick. In my predictions for the nodes, I did predict that there was going to be some issues or some focus or highlight on the healthcare system. And I don't know why I didn't think about extending that to people's actual health, but we can already see that manifesting very clearly. At least I can in my personal life with people I know. So, Virgo is rules over health and systems and our productivity and our efficiency and our day-to-day responsibilities, how we manage our time, how we manage our energy. And we are meant to be looking at those habits and those day-to-day routines right now through a new lens. And again, Saturn can be very helpful here. It can also hurt because, again, we can go overboard with Saturn, be overly cynical or critical and pick apart how we do things. But Saturn can also indicate this ability to see how what we are currently investing our time into is not going to get us a certain outcome that we're looking for. Saturn will help us make the commitment and the decisions, the hard conversations that we need to have in order to make necessary changes or sacrifices for the greater good of the system of our life. And that could mean that you cut out toxic people, toxic habits, routines, and things of that nature that will facilitate an overall holistic well-being within your life. Saturn opposite the moon can also indicate, and on the sun, can also indicate fully ending some cycle that you've been feeling a little trapped in. And again, you can kind of look back at that September time to see what was going on, to see what cycle might be coming to an end. So for me, I was having some relationship stuff go on. I don't really like talk about my personal life that much, but I guess I'll mention a little. I had previously gone through a breakup, and at that time, it brought stuff back up around that because I was hearing more about that person, where they were, and it was just bothering me. So with an eclipse like this, there might be some kind of cycle that wraps up where, you know, maybe I hear about that person again, and this time I feel totally differently. Or maybe something, you know, again, comes back up to be fully resolved. So there's this feeling of ending a cycle totally and completely. Saturn does indicate that things can take time, or elements of the past can come up. So there's something around time always with Saturn to some degree. And so just kind of keep that in mind whenever you're working through something. If you're like, okay, I'm ready to end this cycle, it might take a little bit more time after the eclipse. Again, we have that kind of 6-month window for things to really unfold. And Saturn does kind of drag ass a little bit, and you have to put a lot of effort. So it might really take that 6 months to truly work through something, but you could have that initial breakthrough around the time of the eclipse. How I see this eclipse is this feeling of being agitated enough to finally make a change. So things finally being stressful enough, annoying enough, present in your mind enough, you're hard on yourself enough for there to be some kind of breakthrough. And it's funny because when I was doing my yearly readings for people who purchase them, my clients, I kept pulling the mouse card for this Virgo lunar eclipse. And the mouse card is representing that myopic view, somebody who is kind of reactive to what's in front of them because life is stressful, and there's not this like larger perspective that comes from like Jupiter or Sagittarius that has the ability to see how things are interconnected, that they can have faith and they see the purpose in something. It's like you get too zoomed in that you are super interactive and reactive to what's in front of you, that you kind of lose sight of why this is like benefiting you. And so I do think that this time in general is going to be stressful for people. Some people may have issues in regards to anything health-wise that has to deal with Virgo or Pisces. Virgo is very classic for having issues with the gut or the nervous system or the enteric nervous system, like the gut-brain connection. So those things could all be kind of disrupted at this time. If you're trying to do anything with health, you know, it's not really recommended during an eclipse. So if you can, try to stay away from that. But yeah, Virgo risings will be the ones who are most impacted health-wise, or sun. Anyway, okay, so there could feel also some sadness around the harsh truth that you are facing now. Again, that's Saturn energy. However, I also think that this sadness or this upset or harshness that Saturn provides is also going to be helpful because this moon makes pretty much an exact trine to Uranus. Uranus is a planet of change, of reinvention, of progress. And Saturn kind of gives that reality shock, while Uranus provides the proportionate energy to support the change. So I think that it's ultimately going to benefit us to have this unique balance of both of these. Okay, sorry, I'm just reading my notes. So again, these are likely going to be around health because Virgo is about health or routine, but I think for a lot of us, it could be very concerned with relationships, with appearance, with money, and our values and priorities. So if you are like on the verge of having a breakup, for example, this Venus retrograde and these eclipses going on could kind of stimulate that. If you're on the verge of some kind of breakthrough where you've been really hard on yourself about something recently and you're ready to just make some kind of change, especially in regards to like health or money or whatever, you will notice that you can have some really good progress right now by kind of facing what's going on. Saturn may naturally slow you down, like I mentioned, though, or it could create a certain hardship that you have to overcome. So I don't think that the things like the breakthrough that we have is going to necessarily be easy. Like it's going to be something that takes time and takes effort. So for example, if you're wanting to lose weight, this is something that you could commit to and decide now, and you could really see it through because of the Saturn energy. But it's not going to just come to you. It's going to probably take that full 6 months. It's going to take a lot of consistency and discipline. And also self-belief, which is a lot of Saturn and Pisces. Belief in the self, belief in the universe, having faith that the things that you really want can actually work in your favor. That there is enough magic in the universe to make that happen. People can also come into your life, people or situations can come into your life right now that can act as some kind of catalyst for change or some kind of awakener. And again, we can see that because the ruler of the eclipse is right next to Venus, the planet of relationships. Also, that trine to Uranus as well indicates that we're trying to kind of turn to the new rather than the old. Old wounds can be reawakened right now to be healed. So again, I think that has a lot to do with Saturn, but also we've been kind of having this rough square between Mars in Cancer and Chiron in Aries. And I think that this is contributing partially to the health issues that I've been seeing pop up in so many people's lives. But regardless, I think that this also can be a point of sensitivity and can bring up those kind of old wounds. So Moon opposite Saturn, Mars and Cancer square Chiron, both are these kind of trigger points and sensitive points where things that we thought we might have healed from can be kind of instigated right now or pushed on. And somebody could say something or do something that makes you feel insecure or that brings up something that you thought you were over. For example, maybe you thought, let's say someone cheated on someone. Maybe you thought you healed from that infidelity. And then something happens again that reawakens all of that. And you're kind of having to heal that and, deal with how critical you feel and if you're ready to forgive, if you're ready to let go, that sort of thing. So it's really here to, again, end a cycle with Saturn. So it's bringing it back up so that you can truly make some real progress with it. I think sometimes things kind of keep coming back up in our lives, and we can see that through the cycle of transits. But this is an opportunity for us to have some kind of breakthrough so that even if this gets brought back up, we won't quite return to how low we were before, or we won't have that same perspective. There is going to be some type of soul evolution here where you can graduate in a real way and make real progress. One of the things that you have to be aware of is self-sabotage. And I kind of see that with Mars square Chiron. And also with Saturn opposite the moon. The same thing that can bring up the wounds can also bring up like these parts of ourselves that are overly critical and make us feel like we are not making the right choices, or we're not doing enough, or something is wrong with us, whatever that is. And it can create this negative environment that doesn't support change. And again, this moon does trine Uranus, so that is still there to help through the change. But if we are being so hard on ourselves, there could be a little bit of fear of moving forward. And Saturn and Mars square Chiron really represents that kind of pain or fear around that moving forward, or making changes, or making progress, or making decisions, and being bold in our moves. So I kind of feel like a part of this eclipse is feeling that fear or discomfort and doing it anyway. We want to also be aware of how our busy mind or our restlessness has contributed to where we are right now. And just being overly busy in our lives, because this is such a Virgo trait. Every Virgo I know will not sit the fuck down. Like, every Virgo that I know is always doing something. They're always piddling around the house or doing something for somebody. And this is how I think a lot of them stay skinny. Not all of them are, obviously. This is kind of like a, what do you say? Like a stereotype, something like that. But there is something about the Virgo, since it does rule the nervous system. If you think about the nervous system, it's very, Gemini and Virgo are both kind of connected to that. Regardless, being a Mercury ruled sign, they are just very busy in their mind, very busy in their day. There is a restlessness about them. And ultimately, I think that part of the medicine is always going to bring a balance, going to be about bringing balance between the sun and the moon as they are opposite each other. So Virgo is that restlessness. Well, the sun in Pisces is the calm. It is the time out. It is the limbo, having no work, being able to just be and exist. And so we need to find the medicine and bring them together and have a balance between these. So slow down and focus on what matters during a time like this in order to clarify kind of your path right now and what should be focused on, what should be changed. Okay. Pause before your next movement. That is, I think, the overall message with that right there. So let's see. What else I love about this eclipse is Mars is making a trine to Saturn. So this does differ from the new moon that was happening back in September. Okay, sorry. I just had some little kids randomly run up on my porch, and I don't know. And they asked me if I was Sigma. Anyway, let me know in the comments down below if you even know what they're asking about, because I had no idea. Okay, so Mars is making this trine to Saturn. And this can really help solidify things. So let me see. There's something that I noticed. Yeah, so Mars at the new moon on September 2nd, when this all began, was making a square to Neptune. Mars square Neptune is kind of like, how do I say this? Like somebody, like a boat without a rudder, or like the thing that can like help you change directions and steer. So there is something about Mars square Neptune that can feel a little lost, or not have like enough, momentum and drive to solidify things in the reality. So we might have felt during this new moon in September that we had these kind of ideals for what we wanted to make our life look like in certain respects, but we maybe didn't have the necessary juice to kind of get that going. Now, during this eclipse, we have Mars making a trine to Saturn. This is a lot about getting things formed into our physical reality. And even though it makes that square to Chiron, which could indicate insecurity in moving forward, pain in moving forward, it does indicate that real substance is there, and we're going to be able to actually solidify those plans into the material reality despite the discomfort. So that's what I love about this eclipse, is that it's helping us make real progress. And it does still involve Saturn. Again, there is some difficulty still there, but I feel like it's a really different experience than the new moon back in September. Okay, let me just see if there's anything else I want to talk about. Okay, yeah. The one other thing I want to talk about was the fact that also at this eclipse, Saturn is making a sextile to Uranus. This is going to be happening throughout the whole month of March, through all these eclipses, or these two eclipses. And I really like this because I feel like the universe is trying to support a shift in the solid foundation. You know, Saturn is the things that last the test of time, the things that form a solid foundation and basis of our life and our career. And in 2021, this was kind of post-COVID, we had Saturn square Uranus. And it was this really weird time where we were meant to be making changes, but we're also kind of stifled in those changes, where you can kind of go out into the world, but you kind of can't. You can kind of make changes to your life, but there's also these weird restrictions at certain times. So it's like kind of this foot in both worlds. Now that Saturn is sextiling Uranus, we are kind of open for business. Like all the changes are being facilitated right now. They are being supported. And soon we're going to have Saturn change signs, Neptune change signs at the end of March. We're going to have Uranus change signs to air and fire. And this is going to create like a supercharge of energy, and it's going to accelerate the pace of change in our lives. So whereas a few years ago in 2021, we might have felt like we're kind of trying to make moves, but it wasn't really supported universally or collectively, we're going to notice a huge shift now, where not only is it supported, but it's also being accelerated. So I just wanted to mention that for kind of an overall context, that you might have felt like change was really hard won in these previous years, and now it's going to feel really different, that it's going to feel a lot more easy than before. So that is what I see for the energy of this eclipse overall. I'm sure I could say more and more, but I'm just going to leave it there for now. And then we're going to dive into what this is going to look like for all the signs. So make sure that you definitely stay tuned for that. If you enjoy this video, please do comment down below, or give me a thumbs up, or subscribe, something to support, or share with your friends. All right, up first we have Aries rising and sun. For you guys, this Virgo lunar eclipse is happening in your 6th house, with the sun opposite it in your 12th house. So another thing that I should mention also is that this moon is making an almost exact trine to Uranus in your 2nd house. So what's going on for you guys? With an eclipse in the 6th house, you guys could have a calling right now to make some changes, or you could have something thrust upon you to force changes into your life, especially concerning the areas of your work or your health. With the sun and currently near Saturn and the North Node in Pisces, I am curious like how your sleep has been recently, or how your mental health has been. Usually when we see an eclipse along this axis, there is something that can kind of cause a little bit more stress or overthinking. I did pull the King of Swords, so you guys might be in an energy of having a very active mind, and maybe you're considering a lot of kind of decisions, or maybe a sense of direction in your life right now. Oh, the High Priestess. Interesting. I feel like you guys are maybe in this, well, I think we're all a little bit in this energy of needing to balance the King of Swords and the High Priestess, which is Virgo energy with Piscean energy. So what this is about is balancing logic and intuition, practicality, and the need to also just trust a little bit more and not have everything make sense. And a part of this is going to be, a part of how you can do this is going to be kind of taking some time out. When the sun is in the 12th house, we really need to be resting a lot more. We need to be tuning into our sleep. I don't know with Saturn here if that's going to be negatively affected though. Listening to our dreams, listening to the signs, and then trying to bring that into reality to make the necessary changes to our day-to-day behavior, to how we take care of our health, or our job priorities and responsibilities. Spirit, what changes are coming in for them? With this eclipse trining Uranus in the second, it kind of feels like you're meant to be making money in a more authentic way, or you're meant to have more financial freedom for yourself. There might be ways in which you need to shift how you value yourself or what you're currently prioritizing, or maybe certain boundaries or a sense of independence that you need to prioritize in order to create more kind of this feeling of freedom in your life and enjoying more of life. Yeah, Queen of Pentacles. I think you guys are in an era of needing to kind of build your financial stability if you haven't already. If you already have, doesn't really matter whether you have or haven't. There's something being affected here with your sense of financial independence. With the Queen of Pentacles, this is somebody who makes money on their own. With the Seven of Swords following it, the Seven of Swords is kind of somebody who's like been getting away with something, or like trickery or deceit. So there's something about your financial life again that I'm like, maybe there's something that isn't totally in alignment for you. Like you can make money in a different way, or maybe you're underselling yourself. There's something about it that feels like you are selling yourself short, or you are deceiving yourself about something, or you are having to play some kind of game. But I feel like with this eclipse, you're meant to be stepping into this feeling of being really free and authentic. And so you might need to make certain changes in your life around your work or your finances in order for that to align with you. The next set of cards we have is Judgment, the World, and the Ace of Cups. Wow. Okay, this is so on point with what I've been saying. There is some kind of awakening with this call card. I feel like some of you guys have another calling, something that you're particularly interested in doing. It doesn't have to be work related, but it very likely could be. Regardless, there's some kind of calling, some kind of awakening, some kind of pull that your heart is moving towards. And you're going to have to make some important decisions in your life, especially if you have any planets around 23 degrees of the mutable signs: Pisces, Virgo, Gemini, or Sagittarius. So some of you guys might have some awakening now, or some kind of major shift in your life, some type of completion with the World card. Like maybe you decide that you are, wanting to take a step back from something, or you feel like, okay, I've grown as much as I can in this area of my life, and there's some kind of softer calling within you with this Ace of Cups, something that feels a little bit more like a whisper that's trying to come through and say, hey, listen to this instinct, listen to this feeling. Your intuition is guiding you towards some kind of new path. And I really feel like you guys are meant to be, again, making money or doing something different in regards to your money and your work that feels a little bit more in alignment with yourself. If it's not about money, I feel like you guys are meant to be having more of this balance of logic and intuition when it comes to how you manage your day-to-day life or your health. And maybe you need to make some changes to your food and complete some kind of cycle with that. But I think for a lot of you guys, it's probably a little bit more about work. Anything else, Spirit, about this eclipse? Your planetary ruler, Mars, is also squaring Chiron. It's interesting that this duality card fell out right when I said that, because Mars squaring Chiron is not really a pleasant feeling. And this has kind of been going on for a little while, like off and on for you guys. And it's still going to be happening until, I believe, like this summertime. Mars square Chiron kind of sucks. For my Aries risings, moons, suns, Aries dominant people, you guys are going to be experiencing a little bit of this duality of life where you might feel like things are really moving forward or things are exciting, and then things sometimes might really suck. They might bring up a lot of pain or insecurities. Mars square Chiron usually brings up some type of fear. So there's something going on here where you guys might be going through it a little bit, but even if that is the case, Mars is also trining Saturn in the 12th. So there is something here also that is stabilizing as well. Like if you have certain goals or plans, you might notice that they're finally starting to take root, or you feel like your life is starting to stabilize a little bit. Or you might have, some ideas make more sense in some kind of way. You might see the plan now, but with that square to Chiron, there could still be certain insecurities or wounding that are lingering around anyway. you guys have been going through, your planetary ruler Mars in retrograde this whole February, most of February and all of January. So you kind of might have felt like life slowed down, or like it wasn't progressing in certain ways that you'd hoped, or maybe you've had to like kind of clear something up or deal with something before your life could really progress. Um, so yeah, you might be dealing with that a little bit, and you're kind of, I think, at this crossroads now, at this eclipse, and you have a choice now to upgrade some area of your life to follow more of your own instinct, and pair that again with practicality. Like, you don't want to just quit and leave your job, for example, or just like make some massive dietary changes overnight if you're not going to like consult your doctor, or have a backup plan financially. But there's something that you need to change in your life that is going to create more confidence, more authenticity, more freedom. I feel like freedom is such a big word for you right now, and I'm not sure exactly why, but yeah, there's something I feel like you really need a lot more freedom with. Maybe you're feeling a little bit restricted, and your gut is trying to tell you something about this. So what goddess is guiding my Aries spirit? So we have time in reverse and ambition. Interesting. So some of you guys might feel like time has been working against you. Like I mentioned, your planetary ruler has been retrograde. So you might have been having this feeling of things being like not on time, not moving forward. Maybe you're comparing yourself to where you want to be or other people, and it could feel like you're behind somehow. But just know that you are actually on time. This feeling is something that is just a feeling. It's not the reality of the situation. And with the ambition card, I feel like you guys are finally feeling like you have the capacity, the desire, the drive to get things moving. Maybe external circumstances have finally kind of cleared for you to make some progress with certain things in your life. So this is a time when you're going to be playing catch up, because that feeling of being behind is going to help motivate you to accomplish a lot more. So yeah, the ambition card guiding you, again, this very much could have to deal with you reaching for more. And I think that has a lot to deal with reaching for more that helps you feel freer. So it's not just like, oh, I want to accomplish more and achieve more and have more. It's like, I want to have that, but only if it also makes me feel like this is the right thing to do, or this is my particular interest, or I'm making money that creates a lot more freedom for me to do other things. It's not like just ambition where you kind of have a one-track mind and you're just trying to accomplish something, but you're actually making all these sacrifices and you're not actually creating the life that you want. I see you guys doing the opposite. I see you committing to something right now, or getting really serious about something, or making some important decision here that is going to, yes, it's going to be an ambitious feat, but it's also going to be something that gives you more of that financial freedom and feels more like you are authentic and aligned and honest with yourself about stuff that you want. And it doesn't have to all happen now. Eclipses do take 6 months to unfold. So you might just be having some certain things click into place right now where you realize something around what you want that will take some time to unfold for your future. So that is what I see for you, my Aries rising. If that resonates, I'd love to hear from you in the comments down below. Don't forget to also give me a thumbs up, subscribe, share with your friends, and have a beautiful day. Bye. All right, it makes you have Taurus rising and sun. For you guys, this Virgo lunar eclipse on March 14th is taking place in your 5th house, which means that the sun and Saturn and the north node are opposite the moon and south node in your 11th house. So whenever I think about the sun in the 11th house, this is usually a time in which our future plans and our endeavors can really come into the spotlight. We can start to think about, what's on the horizon for me, and maybe what sacrifices do I need to make in the short term to accomplish something in the long term. So with this eclipse being in the 5th house in particular, you may be noticing how certain elements of your short-term pleasures are contributing to the advancement or the lack of advancement in long-term desires. So for example, if you've been really busy socially, or if you've been distracted in certain ways, or if you have kind of made it a mission to work on some kind of goal or master a skill or get better at something in your life, progress something in your life, but you haven't actually been doing that since September, maybe when this came about, you might notice that you get kind of anxious about that at this eclipse. With the Eight of Pentacles and the Knight of Swords, you guys could start to feel like, oh, I'm behind on something. I really wanted to get better at this thing in my life. Like maybe with this being the fifth house, which is often related to our gifts or our hobbies, there might be something that you've wanted to cultivate in your own practice, in your own life, but maybe you got a little distracted or a little off course. And I could see you guys putting more of your nose to the grindstone or feeling more of that pressure of time and feeling like, oh, all this time has passed and I haven't really like done everything that I needed to do or what I wanted to do. I pulled the Hermit next. I think that this could represent that you guys might need to go a little bit more into hermit mode at this particular eclipse. Maybe you need to take a step back a little bit from your social sphere, your social influence, because you might need to put more energy and effort into whatever this project is or this hobby is or this skill is, because I think that you're going to feel disappointed in yourself if you don't. Another message about this could be that some of you guys have been in hermit mode a lot, and maybe this could be the opposite for you, where some of you guys might actually need to get out there a little bit more, connect more, and try to find more like-minded individuals who can kind of help you cultivate this part of your life or your skill or personality or whatever that is. So pick your poison. Which one makes more sense for you? Have you been really social, really busy lately? Because maybe you will need to go hermit mode instead. Your planetary ruler Venus is currently retrograde. So you guys might be in a time where you are reevaluating your relationships, especially because Mercury, the ruler of this eclipse, is right next to your planetary ruler Venus. Both of these planets, Mercury and Venus, are in your 12th house. So there is some quality of having things be exposed or kind of divulged around relationships that may have felt unseen before. You might start to notice how certain people affect you in certain ways. They might pull you off your path, or you might realize that you're actually more interested in someone or something than you thought. There can just be these kind of reevaluations of the people in your life. And I can really see that with the Four of Wands, with the Call, which is the Judgment card, and then Patience, which is Temperance in reverse. So yeah, I think that part of this period is often feeling like a little bit, especially with Venus being in Aries, a little bit more impatient with people. So I think that this is kind of literal, where there could be just like a less leniency towards others, and you could have some realizations about certain people in your life. You know, usually with the Four of Wands, there's this happy family and everyone is like loving and a peaceful period. But with Patience in reverse, there's something here where it's like that's becoming a little discombobulated. You might no longer feel as calm and centered in your relationships right now. There might be some things that get a little bit perturbed. Issues could come up from the past, things that you are realizing or awakening to that you need to talk about or resolve. So there could be just a feeling of things being a little bit agitated right now. But that's all serving a purpose. With Mars in your third house squaring Chiron on the 12th, you might need to have important conversations that could feel a little bit triggering or upsetting to some people. You might have realizations that could be triggering or upsetting or sensitizing to yourself. But it's generally a time in which I feel like we're not as patient with people. Another message of this, though, is also because this card is about moderation, and again, it's in reverse, so it's the opposite. You guys might have kind of gone too much into relationships. There could have been a disconnect again from your kind of long-term goals in certain ways, and you might have realizations about how certain relationships or investing into people could have thrown you a little off balance. That's a second message for some of you guys. Yeah, I mean, having your planetary ruler, Venus retrograde, all the way up until April 12th is definitely going to impact you on a more personal level. It's a time where you might need to slow down and reflect a little bit more, kind of take a pause from life, especially with Venus being in your 12th. The King of Swords, interesting. I got this also for Aries, even though I shuffled the deck. So King of Swords is like using your discernment. And I think that you guys are coming into a phase of being more discerning about how you spend your time, who you spend your time with, what you're dedicating to, and what your values and priorities are long term. So if you feel like you've been kind of in this whimsical phase and you've been spontaneous and fun and da da da, then this period might actually have you reflecting more on if that's something that's bringing you joy, or if there's a way that you can better align with the things that could bring you more fulfillment in the long term. Okay, let me just see if there's any last messages with the tarot here. Any last messages with the tarot? Okay, let me pull some oracle cards for you as well. So we have continuance. Yeah, again, this is a card that makes me think of bearing fruit in the long term, being consistent with something and being disciplined with something and seeing something through. So I feel like you guys are kind of in a phase of needing to evaluate your timetable, your kind of routine around, maybe not routine around something, but like your effort around something. It's like you need to be consistent with the discipline to create something or to master something with the Eight of Pentacles. This could be an instrument. This could be a project. This could be a relationship as well. Maybe you're not present in that relationship. It really could be anything that brings you joy in your life that you've maybe been anxious about, how you've been inconsistent or but kind of behind with it in some way. So I see you guys needing to refocus on that. What spirit is guiding, what goddess is guiding my Taurus? Okay, we have truth in reverse. Yeah. And the flow card. Oh my gosh. Okay. So with the truth in reverse, again, I feel like there is going to be some revelations at this time. Maybe you thought that things were one way and you're going to realize that they are another way, or some truth could come out that could be somewhat upsetting to you. That is always possible when Venus goes retrograde. It could be some self-realization that you have during this time where you're like, oh, you know, I thought I was doing good, but I was actually just making excuses or hiding in this thing, or this person acted this way, but it's actually, I can't actually trust them like I thought. So with the truth in reverse, there could be some hard truths that you're facing during Venus retrograde that you don't normally want to look at. With the flow card, I think this speaks a lot to the sun being in Pisces and the North Node being in Pisces. There is a need to find some kind of flow state with something. So I'm talking a lot about like discipline here for you. And I think that has a lot to do with Virgo's nature of having a routine, being practical, especially opposite Saturn, realizing that things take effort. But there's also a need to find flow within that sense of kind of order or consistency. So flow often comes from doing something consistently. You know, when you are a musician, you can riff and you can make stuff up and be in a state of flow because you've already mastered the fundamentals and the basics of something. So with you, my Venus, my Taurus or Venus ruled people, I think that you're meant to be kind of mastering something enough that you can get into a good flow state with it. So that's the ultimate goal, is not to become like strict and adhering to a particular, you know, schedule and it's always got to be this. It's more about having this end goal of being able to be so good at something that you flow with it and it feels very natural for you, effortless for you, and it can almost be another form of expression for you rather than just something that is you know, like you're learning about it and you're following the steps that someone else told you. You can now kind of make it your own and use it as a creative expression of the self. So yeah, whatever this is in your life, I feel like you're meant to be really mastering it so that you can come into that flow state. So that's what I'm seeing for you, my Taurus, rising and sun. If that resonates, I would love to hear from you in the comments down below. Don't forget to give me a thumbs up, subscribe, share with your friends, and have a beautiful day. Bye. All right, up next we have Gemini rising and sun. So for you guys, this Virgo lunar eclipse happening on March 14th is taking place in your 4th house. That means that it's opposite the sun, Saturn, North Node, all in your 10th house. So what does this indicate? Well, first of all, I do encourage you guys to look back at the eclipses that happened in March and September of 2007, because you might notice that there are similar themes coming up if you're old enough. Obviously, if you're really young, then you probably won't even notice anything. But you might notice that similar themes are coming up now that were happening at that period of time in your life. Eclipses in the 4th, 10th house axis are definitely something that we feel a little bit more in our day-to-day lives. And they can indicate that we're having some kind of fundamental shift happen within the area of our home life or our kind of career life. With an eclipse in this 4th house, there usually is something that is going to be kind of wrapping up or ending. So you might notice that something is coming to completion in your life, or that something about the past is coming up in regards to your life. So you might be completing some kind of cycle. Maybe you decide that you're going to move, or something is happening within your family, like somebody finally gives birth, or there is someone passing in the family that's been kind of overdue, where you've been anticipating it, I should say. Something like that. Or you could have something from the past come up, especially in regards to your emotions, in regards to something with children or your family, something from the past. So maybe people like I shouldn't say people from the past, but maybe like a family member that you haven't seen in a while, you see them, or something that you thought was kind of resolved in your emotional life or within your family dynamics or in your sense of emotional security. Maybe it gets brought back up and you're like, wow, okay, actually I don't feel secure. And this could also be on a financial level as well, not just emotional. And maybe you're like, oh, I thought I had enough saved, or I thought life was good, and then this huge expense came in and now I'm not so sure. Or from that emotional place, I thought that I was over this thing that's happened. I thought that I healed from this. And now event came up and now I'm like, oh, actually, I'm not over this. Interestingly enough, we have Ace of Cups. This is a new emotional beginning. So you come from the old into the new. So I think that this is trying to say that some cycle is completing, especially in regards to your feelings about something. So it's like you making peace with something at last, or again, it getting brought back up so that you realize that you're not over it, and then you do what you need to do to get over it. Not in like a crude way, where you're just like, oh, just get over it, but in a way of like, what do I need to do to feel at peace with this, to accept this reality, to transition something in my life, to feel secure about where I'm at and where my life is going. There might need to be some type of, again, acceptance of a situation going on. And yeah, I think some of you guys are going to have things that are transitioning out of your life, or that you are leaving someone else's life or some area of your life behind. With the Sun card, I feel like with the Sun followed by the Eight of Cups, I really feel like you guys are going through some kind of loss or transition or movement or change, or other people leaving, or you leaving some chapter behind. And it's not just for the purpose of doing that. There is some kind of like beacon of hope with the Sun card. There is like a career purpose or a sense of direction that's pulling you towards something. So some chapter is ending, something that you're making peace with in the past that you're coming to acceptance with. And then as a result of this, you're going somewhere new. You're going to new ground, new land with the Sun and North Node and Saturn the 10th. You're going to form some kind of new career path or goal path, something that follows your heart or your natural gifts or your natural interests. And it's something that I feel like you're inspired by or excited by, but there might be some feeling of, again, having to kind of process something with it, especially with the Knight of Cups in reverse. It feels like it's maybe bittersweet. Like there is some sad quality to this, where you make some kind of decision to maybe leave a job or move homes, or maybe something is changing within your environment that you're used to having there. And life keeps going on. Life keeps advancing and progressing. And I think that that's something that, that you're ultimately going to be experiencing right now. You do have this new moon, or sorry, this lunar eclipse trining Uranus in your 12th. So there is something here around needing to let something go in order to come into this new beginning. And so there could feel like a little bit of a loss. It could feel kind of upsetting, but it's also something where it's like, trust the process, trust what's happening behind closed doors. In the universe, the divine is working on something for you. It's aligning you with something in your future. and you might need to walk away from something or have something in your life end or have some chapter finalize in order for this to make room for that. So trust this process, really. Don't get too much in your feels if you can. Yeah, Queen of Swords. It's funny because everybody's gotten like King of Swords so far. Now you're getting Queen of Swords, so it's really consistent message here with these. But the Queen of Swords is kind of like, I say this a lot, but the bitch of the tarot. So there's something about this where it's like, let's lean a little bit more into this Virgo energy and be a little bit like cold-hearted about something. Like, it is what it is, right? You need, like, let's be honest about something. Let's be truthful about something. Let's accept something. Let's not try to sugarcoat it or make excuses or lie about something. Like, if you need to make a commitment, if you need to say something outright to somebody, you know, if you need to make some kind of change or own something in some type of way, anything really, it's like, let's just be forthright about it. Let's be honest with ourselves and others. Let's not dance around it. And that energy of being direct is going to help you manifest with this Magician card exactly what you want. So not being super caught up in your feels about what you're losing, but being more in your mind of like, this is what this is, period. Point blank. I have to accept what this reality is right now. I have to accept the things that are leaving, the things that are changing. Let's just not emotionally allow myself to kind of spill over for no reason. Not that you can't be in your feels at all, but I feel like a lot of these cards are cups cards. And, you know, the fourth house is a lot about how we feel, and eclipses can really stir a lot, especially Pisces energy as well. So there's a lot of stuff about being in your feels. And I kind of feel like the Virgo energy wants to come a little bit more into the mind and realize, like, okay, what are we getting out of this? What are we going to manifest next? Like, what's the plan? What's exciting me about the future here? And be a little bit more focused on the facts instead of kind of wallowing in something and the loss of something or the change of something. Like, let's get the mind going with the next steps instead. Like, let's make this a little bit more useful. You also have Mercury, your planetary ruler, and the eclipse planetary ruler conjunct Venus retrograde. So very strong themes can come up around relationships. So maybe some of you guys are having some kind of change or ending in the area of relationships, or maybe you're having some type of transition in that area of your life. And so you might feel like your community is changing, or like you're losing something in that regard, or there is some type of review that your relationships are going under right now. With the Seven of Swords upright and the Four of Swords in reverse, I feel like this is a time where we're meant to be... Well, I was going to say, I think it's a time where we're meant to be kind of like analyzing relationships a little bit more. Let me pull a clarifier for the Seven of Swords first before I say anything else. Clarifier, Spirit, for the Seven of Swords. Because the Seven of Swords, it came out for another group as well. The Seven of Swords is usually a card of like betrayal or getting away with something or like hiding something. Let's see, with the Three of Pentacles. Yeah, so the Three of Pentacles is a card around working together. This is kind of what I was talking about, you know, when I was pulling these cards, is Venus being retrograde in your 11th house of friends and network, and how you work with other people to accomplish certain things, or your network. So yeah, there's something about your community or your network right now. I don't know. There's something, it's like you might not see the full picture of it yet. Venus retrograde could illuminate certain things for you, or yeah, you might be having certain realizations about people in your life and their role in your life, or there could be things that the divine has not fully revealed to you yet. And with the Four of Swords in reverse, I feel like maybe you've been kind of in a period of contemplation around this area of your life, like, you know, thinking about the people in your life and, you know, how you belong, or if you feel rooted somewhere, if you feel good somewhere, or, you know, what makes a happy home, or what makes a good friend group, or who is there to support me. Like, you might have been in that energy a little bit, but I feel like with the Four Swords in reverse, I don't know, it feels like you're coming out of this. Like you're having, let me get a clarifier for this. Like maybe you're having certain realizations. Yeah, Ten of Swords. So there might be certain things where you're like, okay, I'm done with this period of contemplation and trying to figure all this out. And maybe there are just things that you're like, okay, I've settled into a decision with this. So maybe you are trying to figure out like if you liked where you lived, or if you liked the friends that you have, or if you wanted to pursue a certain hobby and get more around certain types of people, or put yourself out there more, just anything in regards to relationships and community and your sense of belonging. That area of your life is something that I think has been kind of under scrutiny, or you've been thinking about it. And with this Ten of Swords in reverse, I feel like that cycle is ending and you're coming to some kind of conclusion, or you might remove yourself from something that doesn't feel right. So it's going to be some type of release from that cycle that's happening right now. Okay. So anything else, Spirit, around this eclipse? So we have longevity. Yeah, I really feel like you're going to be thinking about your long-term purpose with something. With the Sun, Saturn in the 10th house, North Node in the 10th house. These eclipses this next year and even into 2026 in your 10th house are very, very important and very fated and destined in terms of your purpose and your calling in the world. You're going to have some shifts in your life that uproot you, or that change your sense of direction, or that add a lot more clarity to what you're here to do, or somehow divert your path in some way, because there's something better that has a long-term potential for you that you might not be currently pursuing to the fullest extent. So this longevity piece is you really like sinking your teeth into something that has this long-term potential right now. And that could be, especially in terms of like your goals in life or your sense of direction, but it could also be potentially about relationships as well. So the changes that are happening now are to advance your life in that way. Rebirth in reverse. Absolutely. This is what I'm seeing for you guys. There's some major changes happening here. It could be changes to the people around you, again, where you live, your career. You could feel unsettled. There could be just lots of different things undergoing transformation. But I think what this card in reverse represents is that there is a little bit of like nostalgia coming through, where it feels bittersweet or sad to let something go. It feels like a little bit maybe emotional resistance, or like emotionally holding on to what things are, or stress around moving into a new chapter. It's like excitement and inspiration, but also a little bit of like emotional distress at the leaving part. So yeah, I think that this rebirth card is really telling you it's your time now for these changes to happen. And it might not always feel good in the moment, but they are definitely in your best interest, very fated. And it's going to bring in some potential long-term paths for you that you wouldn't really fully pursue if everything in your life stayed as it was. So this is super, super necessary for you guys right now. So that is what I'm seeing for you, my beautiful Geminis. If this resonates, please let me know in the comments down below. Don't forget to also give me a thumbs up, subscribe, share with your friends, and have a beautiful day. Bye. All right, up next we have Cancer, Rising, and Sun. So for you guys, this Virgo Lunar Eclipse on March 14th is taking place in your 3rd house. And that means that the Sun, the North Node, and Saturn are all opposite it in the 9th house. So an eclipse in the 3rd house can bring about important news, important revelations, ideas, communications, decisions that you're making at this time, especially if you have any planets around 23 degrees of the mutable signs, which are Virgo, Pisces, Sagittarius, and Gemini. So if you have any planets around there, it's very likely you're going to be having some important decisions or conversations or ideas come through at this time. So interesting. Yeah. So an eclipse in the 3rd house, especially in Virgo, especially with the South Node, to me does show a little bit of like dysfunction when it comes to the mind. I think the mind can be very, very busy right now. You might be overthinking, overstimulated. You might have a lot to do. You might be super, super busy and pulled in many different directions. You might have a lot on your plate, and Virgo does tend to stress out. So this is a time in which you might feel, again, a little bit kind of like overwhelmed. And I can really see that. That's something that was coming through. And then I pulled this card, the 10 of Wands. I was like, yeah, you have a lot of different fires burning. You have a lot of different pots on the stove, or whatever that means, whatever the saying is. So yeah, it's like you got a lot of things in the fire. What is the fuck is that saying? Okay, okay, anyway. So you've got a lot going on, and I think it's a time in which you might feel potentially even like physically a little bit off because of that. You do still have Mars in your first house, which has been going on for a while. It's been retrograde in there and Mars is currently also squaring Chiron in your 10th house. So maybe you're feeling like a little bit behind in your career, and maybe you've got a lot of obligations. Again, I just feel like it's physically a little bit more of a distressing time, or at the very least like mentally a little bit overwhelming. With the Four of Pentacles, I feel like part of what you might be thinking about right now is how to create some kind of sense of stability, security for yourself, how to root yourself, how to protect yourself, protect your energy, have enough money, whatever that looks like. But there's something in your life that I feel like has been drawing on your energy and resources and a little overwhelming for you, or overbearing in some type of way. And I feel like you're meant to be kind of shielding yourself, protecting yourself in some type of way. And with Saturn opposite in the 9th, there feels like there needs to be some type of, justice, or some kind of like, yeah, I don't know, something here with following your integrity with something. Yeah, okay, I'll put a pin in that. Okay, Four of Cups, Two of Swords, and Seven of Wands. Okay, Four of Cups is a card of somebody who's maybe felt a little bit like depressed. Usually the Four of Cups is a disengagement with life, or a little bit of an apathy with life. You guys could have been feeling that with Mars retrograding in January and most of February. Mars retrograde, especially with the square to Chiron as well, does tend to lead towards a little bit of depression or a lack of action. So you might have felt like things were not really moving forward, and maybe you weren't really motivated to move them forward. I do think that things are changing now, but they might still feel a little bit like anxious, like a period of transition where you're mobilizing yourself, or you're going to maybe need to shift things in your life to create a little bit more groundedness, and maybe a sense of like routine or consistency, or a better flow with life without being like not energized or pulled in too many directions, or being stressed from some issue in your life where you can't focus on what matters to you. There's something going on with that. And I feel like you guys are coming into, with this eclipse, you're trying to come into a state of balance. With the Two of Swords, this could be coming from, again, the Two of Swords could indicate like needing to make a decision with something, or needing to balance two things of your life. That's a little bit more Two of Pentacles, but still, Two of Swords is still two. So there could be something, again, to balance. But again, many of you guys might need to make some kind of important decision here. And that's something that I did mention at the very beginning. And that decision is something that should help bring you towards a greater sense of stability, and something that is, again, in line with like your integrity, your life philosophy, that type of thing. We do have the Seven of Wands as well. The Seven of Wands is usually a card that indicates that there's some kind of battle, that you're triumphing over something or someone. It's almost like, I don't know. I'm curious if this has to do with like a boss or somebody else in your life that has their own opinions about something, or they're running interference. It just kind of feels like I'm getting the imagery of like a dog running, and it's kind of going in its direction. It knows what it wants, where it's headed. And then there's this other dog kind of nipping at its heels and like being a little annoying. There might be just something in your life, or someone in your life, that represents a little bit more of an annoyance, a distraction. They're kind of getting in the way. Yeah, bothering you in some type of way. But I don't think that that's meant to be holding you back. I just think that that's part of what's draining your energy. And there might need to be some important messages here around your boundaries. This moon is making an almost exact trine to Uranus in your 11th house. So I really feel like you guys are meant to be in a phase of kind of exploring more of your mind, especially with the sun in the ninth house and Uranus in the 11th. There's something here around expanding your horizons, reaching for more, or mixing up what you do or who you interact with, or learning new things in order to feel like you're not just kind of weighed down with practical stuff on a day-to-day life that you're not even that interested in with the Seven of Wands. Like if you're a mother and you're always with your kids, like maybe it's time that you do something for yourself. Yeah, there's something here. It's like I need to protect myself. I need to save my energy. I need to have better boundaries, or I need to make time for the things that really matter to me, because I've been feeling a little bit like down lately, and I want to get my priorities straight again. And this is something that I think is a natural quality of Venus retrograding throughout this whole month and into next month. Venus is retrograde, and it's also in your 10th house in Aries, and it's conjunct Mercury, the ruler of this eclipse. So there's something that's really strong here around kind of establishing a different set of priorities in your life that help you move more in the direction that you want to go in. And this could also indicate that there could potentially be some type of dysfunction in regards to like career relationships or relationships with authorities that you need to reevaluate, or even parents. This doesn't have to be a message for everybody, but there could be some dysfunction there that you're needing to kind of have an important conversation about, or an important decision about, to establish certain boundaries, or to get clear on what your role is versus their role, or the priority here, or whatever. The Empress. Interesting. Yeah. At first I thought I was reading this and I was thinking it was the Emperor, and I was like, okay, yeah, this is somebody who's kind of taking charge. There is that, but it's in a more feminine way. So I feel like you guys are meant to be kind of taking life back a little bit for yourself, like giving more back to yourself, with Mars in your first house being a little bit more selfish, in a positive way, that to give back, to fill up your cup, give back to yourself, fill up your cup so that you can feel like you're more abundant, that you're flowing with life more, that you're growing more in some type of direction. I did mention, I was like, people are kind of pulling at your energy, and I feel like you gotta like get them away. You have to make important decisions, clarify certain things in your life, have important conversations if that's relevant for you. Protect your boundaries, protect your time, and then you'll get into this kind of like flow state where you're feeling abundant, where you feel like you're pursuing the things that you want, where you're making time for the things that you want, and maybe potentially getting more money in that area of your life or in your career. Spirit, what goddess is guiding them for this eclipse? It is also interesting that you're ruled by the moon, and then the moon is with the south node. It feels like a lot around like letting go. And it's interesting that I'm saying this as I pull the nurturer in reverse. So there's something about this period where you've been in this nurturer archetype. You are Cancer. You're somebody who gives. You give the shirt off your back. For those that you love, you will do anything to protect them, to care for them, and you will give selflessly. And I really feel like you, with the moon in the south node here, this is also like a Virgo quality, is to give so much of themselves that they lose almost part of their well-being as a result. And with the moon in the south node is about release, letting go, stopping some kind of pattern or cycle. With this card in reverse, I feel like you're meant to be putting some boundaries up. And that's what I got with the Four of Pentacles. It's like you need to protect your energy more. You've been a little bit too self-sacrificial. You've been a little bit too much like, you know, what can I do for others? Or what do I need to do for my family? Or whatever this looks like. But it's almost that you haven't been, or maybe you've been giving too much to work, for example, and not enough to yourself. There's something here where I feel like you've been your energy's been drawn upon too much by the world, by your loved ones, by your career, whoever. And it's time to put a foot down and be like, no, I need to protect myself and my own energy, put my nurturing energy back into myself, and end some kind of cycle of over giving. Yeah, vitality. You guys are coming into a phase of increased vitality. You may have to overcome some kind of health journey or issue with Mars square Chiron, or some kind of anxiety here. There might be a process of overcoming something, but I feel like, again, health might have been something that comes up. Like it's could have drawn on you, people drawing on your energy too much. And now you need to look more at establishing your vitality here, building up your health again. And again, a lot of that comes through boundaries, through your food, through your consistency. Yeah, I really feel like you guys have just given too much, and now it's time to build yourself back up. So that's what I'm seeing for you, my beautiful Cancer. If that makes sense for you, I'd love to hear from you in the comments down below. Don't forget to also give me a thumbs up, subscribe, share with your friends, and have a beautiful day. Bye. All right, up next we have Leo rising and sun. So for you guys, this Virgo lunar eclipse on March 14th is taking place in your second house. The moon is with the south node, and it's opposite the sun, north node, Saturn on Pisces in your 8th house. So very strong themes can come up here around needing to release some kind of cycle around your finances. With the Four of Pentacles and the Ten of Swords, there's some kind of ending here that needs to happen in regards to being a little bit like scarce in certain ways. Maybe, sorry, there's so many messages. I have a number of things to say. Okay, some of you guys might need to come into a phase of realizing that there is more abundance, more optimism, more opportunity out there for you. And we can see that with Mercury, the ruler of this eclipse, being in the 9th and also conjunct Venus, Venus retrograde. There might be some reevaluation of your assets and your finances where you're realizing that you need to kind of level up some type of way and not be so like stingy or miserly. Maybe that's not really the right word, but like cautious, I guess, in regards to certain financial decisions. And it's not that you don't want to be cautious, because I guess actually with this eclipse opposite Saturn in the 8th, you definitely don't want to like take on debt or make any kind of financial risky decisions. I guess what I'm trying to say is that it's almost like needing to realize that you have more opportunities for abundance, more financial growth that you can have. But it's almost like you've been really zoomed in and focused on this little like piece of land. Like let's say if you watch the overview, then the mouse analogy. The mouse is like really focused on this little piece of cheese right in front of it, but it's missing the fact that there's like this massive like conglomerate of cheese in the distance that it could be eating and feasting on for months and weeks. And it's just trying to protect and kind of keep this little cheese close. Like, oh, I got to make sure that I don't lose what I have right here. And this could be in regards to finances or relationships. So you might feel like, oh, I got to protect myself and keep myself safe and not open up to this person, or I gotta hold on to this person or this relationship and I can't let go because there might not be someone on the other side, or I gotta keep this job and I gotta make sure that I save all my money because, you know, there's scarcity mindset, this fear around there not being enough out there, or not trusting that the universe has more potential for you. And this eclipse is a lot around like worry, honestly, for everybody to some extent. And that could really come into this area of life around money or relationships. And a lot of it does stem from self-worth, of feeling I'm not capable of more, I'm not deserving of more. And with Mercury next to Venus retrograde in the 9th, it's a lot about like rehabilitating the self-concept and your belief in the world and your belief in abundance and the belief in what's possible for you. And so this is a lot about kind of expanding your horizons and getting out of this kind of like miserly or kind of distorted or even like small myopic view of what's possible or what you can have. With the 9 of Cups and the 2 of Wands, I feel like the goal of this eclipse is to help you kind of do what you maybe need to do in terms of practical things. Let me pull a card on that before I get into those 9 of Cups message. So what should they be doing here? Yeah, King of Swords, 4 of Cups. Okay. Yeah, this is what I was thinking with the King of Swords first. I feel like you guys need to kind of like do what you need to do, or make real plans, or have like a realistic mindset, because this eclipse is opposite Saturn. So you might be having a viewpoint that there is scarcity in your life, and maybe there is a reality to that to some extent. Maybe you're holding on to something tightly because, you know, you actually don't see the options right now, or you don't see another person out there, or you don't have another job lined up, or whatever this is. But the King of Swords is somebody who makes the plan. They get things moving. They have the ideas, and they start to take action on their ideas. So I feel like you guys need to see the situation realistically. Maybe it will cause stress initially. But there's something more out there for you, and you need to resolve this scarcity issue first. So that could look like, you know, exploring your options, you know, making some kind of plan or looking at the opportunities out there for you. Or obviously you don't want to do this if you're in a relationship. You don't want to start looking for somebody else, but there's this need to kind of prepare yourself mentally for the feeling of abundance or for the feeling of opportunity or options that's out there for you. And I see that with the 9 of Cups and the 2 of Wands is like, I can have more of what I want. I just need to create some kind of plan to go get that. So getting out of this mindset of lack or scarcity or small mindedness in certain ways and starting to believe more in yourself and more in this feeling of potential. And the only way to do that is to think about what actually would feel a lot better, a lot more exciting for you, and then create some kind of plan to move towards that. Part of this process with the 4 of Cups is going to be getting out of a state of kind of like victimhood or surrendering or being apathetic or being disconnected from yourself and your goals. There's something here where it's like you've kind of been playing life on easy mode, or you've been a little like disconnected from yourself. And this eclipse is trying to create enough maybe stress potentially or chaos or whatever to create the change, to re-engage you, to get back online, to get motivated, to do something about this situation. Another way to look at this is that there could be some necessary things that you need to put down in your life. The 4 of Cups is about turning away from something. So there might be certain elements of your life that you need to say no to in order to actually get this plan in motion. You know, you can't focus on everything all at once and achieve your goals, right? This eclipse is also making an almost exact trine to Uranus in your 10th. So there is this need here to facilitate some type of change in your long-term direction or goals. This doesn't have to be a radical change. This could be a slight change, but you need to kind of like become a little bit more independent, self-reliant, or you just need to like, yeah, I don't know. It's like you need to have more freedom in your goals or change your goals somehow to be more authentic for you, because I really feel like you've been holding on so tightly and feeling like, oh, this is only possible for me, when actually the universe is like, there's so many different variations of this reality that could happen, but you have to think in a more outside the box type of way and about what your true nature is and what you would really like to pursue. Yeah, the Sun card. Yeah, I feel like you guys are really meant to be thinking about, what are my gifts? What are my talents? What could I do with these? What are the potentials with these? Because I feel like you've been looking a lot at like what isn't working, or the have-nots in your life instead of the haves, and or you're just thinking too small here. And the Sun card is saying there's a lot more potential here that you haven't fully tapped into yet, that the universe is like ready for you to get outside of your box with right now. Any other messages, Spirit? The 5 of Swords, the 7 of Swords. Why is the 7 of Swords coming out for every group? Wow. Yeah, I feel like you've been getting in your own head, if I'm being honest. This could be relational, but I have the feeling that this is more personal. The 5 of Swords and the 7 of Swords to me is somebody who's like getting wrapped up in their own mind, and they're making these kinds of like excuses for things, especially with Mars being in your 12th, squaring Chiron in your 9th. I feel like you guys actually are having a crisis around faith, belief, faith in yourself, and in the future. Crisis is probably an intense word, but there's like something going on there in that area of your life, and you may be, and that's the underlying, or like the core, the root issue. But on the surface, it looks like, oh, I don't have energy for that today, or oh, I'm not going to do that, or I have certain excuses for why that's not going to work for me, or and it's creating this like web of lies and anxiety as a result of this kind of illusion or facade that you're putting up in your life. I don't know. It's like you're again, there's some kind of like almost like giving your power away, or some kind of like victimhood mentality, or like this disconnect from your source of empowerment, where it's like, this is what I want, this is where I'm going, this is what I can do to achieve certain potentials. And instead, I feel like it's a lot of like, like making up like little distractions or reasons or delusions why you can't have certain things or you can't do certain things. making excuses, I feel like, is the biggest thing. This is not to hate on my Leos, like absolutely not, but I feel like you guys have more potential. So I'm trying to awaken you to. Yeah, the moon, there's something about it where it's like you've been hiding something from yourself. You've been hiding your potential from yourself, or your full desire for something from yourself, and you've been hiding what's really underneath it all, which is a fear that you won't be able to have this, or that you won't succeed, or that you're not good enough, or that there's not more out there, that there's a lack of faith of some sort. I think that's what you're actually trying to run from, is like, what if there isn't more to life? What if this is life? What if life sucks? Maybe that's at the core of how you are, like, the feeling going on here. Yes, you need to have courage, my Leos. You need to have courage to believe that there is actually more out there, that you have more potential, that when you go on that path, that you can actually reach for those things and attain them. To take, I don't want to say to take a risk. I feel a little uncertain about that with Saturn the 8th, but there is this feeling of trusting yourself enough to make the necessary changes in your life. Take calculated risk. If there is some type of risk here, it's not going to be something that you just jump into blindly. With Saturn the 8th, you need to be prepared. You shouldn't take on extra debt. You should really have things in order. But reach for more. Have the courage to reach for more, to not settle, to not just hold on to what you have out of fear. There's this feeling of like life is meant to be growing a lot more right now. And, you know, with the ruler of this eclipse on the 9th, you have so much potential. But I think you need to really believe in yourself a lot more. Have that confidence to go out and get it. So that's what I'm seeing for you, Leo. If that resonates, I'd love to hear from you in the comments down below. Don't forget to give me a thumbs up, subscribe, share with your friends, and have a beautiful day. Bye. All right, up next we have Virgo rising and sun. So for you guys, this lunar eclipse is happening in your sign, Virgo, on March 14th. In your first house. And that means that the sun and Pisces and Saturn are all opposite in your 7th house of relationships. So what is this going to bring for you, my beautiful Virgos? Well, having an eclipse in your first house oftentimes does bring quite a bit of change when it comes to your personal life, when it comes to your physical body, your physical appearance. You guys might have some desire to make changes to this area of your life. You might experience certain health issues that force you to make necessary changes, or to deal with the health issues that arise simply. With the eclipse also, of course, spanning into your 7th house with the sun there and Saturn there, you might have some things go on in relationships. With the love card in reverse, it's possible that certain relationships could find their ending, their culmination. You could have some certain realizations about people in your life, or that you have certain patterns going on in your relationships that you put an end to. I really feel like a lot of this eclipse is about ending some kind of cycle. And so if there is something going on in your relationships that you feel like has been a daunting cycle that you've been in for a while, aka Saturn being in your 7th house, kind of making relationships a lot harder and a lot more effort, then you might notice that this eclipse helps you kind of wrap certain things up with that, although Saturn is still in your 7th house. So it's not totally over with yet, but you are nearing the end of some kind of relationship cycle, definitely within the next 6 months, especially as Saturn moves into Aries. So yeah, so definitely a lot of like karma kind of playing out in regards to your relationships. We see the 9 of Pentacles with the love card in reverse followed by the 9 of Pentacles. This is definitely going at it alone. This could mean that you're kind of going off onto your own in some way, which is unusual because usually an eclipse with the North Node in the 7th, you would think brings more people into your life. And I do think that that's going to be the eventual case here. But I think first there needs to be some type of leaving or separation, or ending certain relationships, or walking away from certain codependencies, if that's a thing. You know, whatever this looks like, there's going to be some type of, you know, yeah, just like potential need to leave a relationship. Your planetary ruler and the eclipse ruler, Mercury, is in the 8th house and is conjunct Venus retrograde. So we are experiencing, again, some major transformation and, again, potential endings in regards to relationships as you reevaluate kind of your priorities, what you're looking for and the people in your life and your partners. This could also be the ending of some kind of commitment or contract with somebody. Part of your message from Spirit is to trust the process here at this Empress card. Trust that the things that are leaving your life are going to be filled back up and replaced by something more in alignment. That is what eclipses in the 1st and 7th house do. They are very fated. They shift dynamics in major ways. I just had anyway, I was gonna mention somebody's personal story. I'm not gonna mention it, but basically, if people leave your life, it is for a reason. It's because it was probably long overdue, or even if it wasn't long overdue, you've just somehow evolved or graduated, or you're moving on into some other area of your life that doesn't involve that person or that company or that commitment anymore. So the Empress is about being in flow with life and realizing that there's a lot more out there. This eclipse is making a beautiful trine, or the moon is making a beautiful trine to Uranus in your 9th house. Something else that the Empress reminds me of is this feeling of growth, of expansion, of reaching towards something new, going on a new adventure, traveling, learning something new. And so this eclipse could bring up the desire for all of that. And so you, again, need to have like independence or spaciousness in your life in order to be able to go on this next adventure or this new chapter for yourself. So let's see, Spirit, what else do you want my Virgos to know, Spirit? The 3 of Cups. Yeah, this is a lot of a card of like celebration. It does very much bring about the energy of relationships. So it's not like every relationship is leaving your life, obviously. But there's quite a bit that's going to be shifting in regards to your relationships. So yeah, I just think certain things are ending. Certain people are leaving. I don't really know how else to view this other than that. So any clarifier, Spirit, here? Any clarifier for this 3 of Cups? Oh, wow. Okay, too much going on there. I'll come back to that. So, yeah, okay, so the 3 of Cups followed by the Ace of Wands and the 10 of Swords. It's funny because a couple of the groups have been getting 10 of Swords. So, 10 of Swords is a definitive ending. So this is why I'm like, okay, it feels like you guys might have something shifting in your life. This doesn't just have to be a relationship, but there's something in your life where you're wrapping up a chapter, you're ending some kind of cycle, you're letting something go. The South Node over the Ascendant in the 1st house, over the Sun, is always about letting something go, something that you were attached to, something that you were a part of, that is just kind of like outdated by this point. You've passed that and you're moving on to some new chapter. And so I feel like there is almost something going on here where there's a celebration, I feel like, of this ending. It doesn't feel truly negative, although it could feel stressful because of the opposition with the moon and Saturn. So there could be some stress in regards to if certain people are leaving, or maybe you're upset about certain things with that. But with the Ace of Wands, there's something exciting coming up here for you, like a new idea, a new opportunity that's on the horizon for you. Again, a new adventure, which I saw with that moon trine Uranus in the 9th, some kind of new horizon that you're going to go towards, some kind of risk that you might want to take with the eclipse ruler being in the 8th, some kind of positive risk. And I really feel like in order to go on that adventure, you have to leave the land. You have to go on the boat and sail to that new place. And that means you're saying goodbye to the home that you lived in, the friends that were there, the job that you had. This is not literal. Maybe some of you guys are very much staying in your same place, but there's something about your life right now where I feel like you're actually celebrating some kind of new venture that you're going on because it's helping you grow significantly as a person, and it will involve having to close some doors or close some chapters in your life in order to make room for this. Again, I feel like it's something that you're going to be potentially doing on your own, or is going to lead to more financial abundance for you with this 9 of Pentacles. There's just something here around independence, really thriving in your independence right now. Yeah, and that's not normally something I would really focus on with the North Node in the 7th house, which is all about like partnership and collaboration, but it's a very strong feeling I'm getting with Uranus trining this moon. And I think that collaboration and partnerships will come up later. Again, I think that that's very much a focus for you throughout this year and even into next year. But right now in particular feels like independence, leaving attachments, leaving kind of the comfort zone, releasing certain things that you've become maybe overly identified with that are just outdated, and now you're moving into a new chapter where there's something exciting that you're almost like celebrating, that you got the news about something, or that you had an idea for something, or whatever this is. The Strength card. Yeah, this is going to take your courage. It's going to take your confidence and resilience, because it does feel like you're going into a new land. You are going to kind of test your own faith with something, or your own positivity. It's really going to kind of ask a lot of you this next phase of your life. And in order to make some kind of leap of faith, potentially, you're going to have to kind of risk it for the biscuit. We have the Fool card. The Fool card is in reverse with the Knight of Pentacles upright. I feel like it's the opposite here. So I'm going to honestly inverse these cards, because there's something here where I feel like you are, again, having some kind of fresh start. With the eclipse being in the first, it's always going to be something new coming in next. And that represents, again, of course, something ending. The Knight of Pentacles is like things being the same, things being routine, things being consistent. And I think that's the opposite of what this is. It's creating a new routine, getting out of your kind of mundane day-to-day life, having a new plan, a new adventure. So yeah, I feel like you guys are kind of getting unstuck with something. And the only way to get unstuck is to release something or let something go. Okay. Any other advice here, Spirit, around this eclipse? You guys also have Mars in your 11th house squaring Chiron in the 8th. I don't know if I already mentioned this, but that again can indicate, you know, some kind of changes in your friendships, your community, your goals, but you might feel uncertain about them or insecure about that. Yeah, affection. So let me read what this card says here. New experiences are coming your way. Exactly. That's literally what I've been saying this whole time. Which means you will feel prompted to find new ways of doing things. Exactly. And that could also be something that you really hit the ground running with Mars trining Saturn. You might find new ways of doing things, and you might be able to commit to that and really see something through. But with that square to Chiron, you might also have some like fears, insecurities, self-doubt issues from the past come up that could also be along that journey that kind of, you know, give you a little bit of discomfort. If you're seeking a solution, be more receptive to suggestions and openings. Ensure you're putting your true feelings into all that you're doing. A valuable proposition could come your way, but don't get too carried away. Okay. So that's part of your advice here. I just looked at the clock and I saw 11:11 for this video. So again, there's a lot here around really focusing on yourself. This is an eclipse in your first house of self. So this is building up your health, finding out that new sense of direction in your life, doing something more independently. Okay. What else, Spirit? What goddess is guiding my Virgos? Alliance and secrets in reverse. Yeah. So this to me is talking about truth coming to light in regards to relationships, seeing relationships, like exposing the insides, the internal workings of people in your life, or things that you're committed to, or people that you're committed to. And having, again, your alliances come into question in some way. Maybe realizing that we're not as close as I thought we were, or that person has actually been saying this behind my back, or this relationship, I've been kind of ignoring this part of the relationship, and then I need to talk about it and expose it. There's just something here where it's like relationships are maybe put under a little bit of duress or stress right now. But they also are becoming very honest and open. And so you'll know more how you stand with people. And again, I think relationships are an area of major growth, and you are going to attract new people into your life this year. But I also think that you're going to expose the existing relationships if there is any dysfunction in them, so that you can kind of clear away that energy in whatever way that looks like, to make room for the most authentic kinds of connections. So a lot could be going on. I mean, some of you guys could potentially meet somebody now, although I am getting more of a focus on, I mean, there's just so much with like relationships here with the love card. It's in reverse, the affection card and the alliance card. So there's really strong energy around relationships. So it's hard to say it's like only going to look one way. Some of you guys could potentially meet somebody. But with Venus retrograde and with this being an eclipse, I mean, the eclipses could be potentially really good, but with Venus retrograde, I'm like, oof, like, do you want to meet somebody right now? Anything else, Spirit, that my Virgos need to know? So we have the future. Yeah, you guys are in a period of needing to think about your long-term future with this moon opposite Saturn. You need to think about if there, again, are things that you can sacrifice or leave or change or end or move on from in order to progress your future. Because the South Node, again, is always about some type of release. So if you're trying to stay where you are and you're trying to have everything consistent and everything be the same, you're going to be disconnected from your future potential. Yeah, I just feel like there's more information for you guys. Like there's, even though that's probably enough, I don't know. Spirit, is there something else you want to communicate with me about my Virgos? I just feel like I'm missing something. It's a weird feeling. She who remains, powerful devotion and true worth. Yeah, so there's also the opposite side of this of, you know, okay, you want to leave something behind to move towards your future, but that doesn't mean you're leaving everything behind. There is also some element here of being consistently devoted or remaining connected to or like working with or working through something still. So it's like that evaluation is going to be a mixture of the two, where there are going to be some things in your life that the chapter is closing, but there are going to be other things that you need to renew your devotion or connection to it. This could be a partnership also. So maybe certain relationships and things are ending, or maybe a quality or dynamic is ending in your relationship, and then you recommit to the partnership or recommit to that goal or that vision. So there's something there with that where you guys are needing to evaluate what is leaving, but also what you are even more connected to or devoted to now more than ever. So that's what I'm seeing for you, Virgo. If that resonates, please let me know in the comments down below. Don't forget to give me a thumbs up, subscribe, share with your friends, and have a beautiful day. Bye. All right, I myself, Libra, rising, and sun. So for you guys, you're having this Virgo lunar eclipse take place in your 12th house. That means that the sun is opposite this moon with the North Node, with Saturn, and Neptune's also there, in Pisces, in your 6th house. So what do we know about the 6th and 12th house axis? Well, first of all, this axis is often involved in issues related to physical or mental health. So you guys might find that you are doing things in your life right now to try to improve your physical or mental health. Maybe you are having trouble sleeping. Eclipses in the 12th can definitely disrupt our sleep cycles. You might find that you are in maybe some kind of transitionary period in your life as well, because the 12th house is the final house of the zodiac. And so it usually represents like the ending or the culmination, not the culmination, but the full moon represents that. But it's where a chapter closes. So there could be something in your life where you are kind of wrapping it up, or you're transitioning into a new phase of your life, or you are in a period of limbo, or again, just transition in general. And this eclipse could bring up potential anxiety around that, or at the very least, it could show you where you need to have a plan, as well as where you need to trust, because a lot about this eclipse being in the 12th is kind of trusting yourself and that the path is going to work out for you. This is an interesting time because your planetary ruler is Venus, and Venus is retrograde at the time of this eclipse, and it's also conjunct Mercury, the ruler of this eclipse. So there's something here. Both these planets are in Aries in your 7th house. There's something here that could come up around relationships in particular. So it could be one phase of your life ending, or some kind of thing wrapping up in regards to contracts, commitments with other people, or romantic relationships, friendships, family members. There could be something that you're kind of realizing that it's time to end, or it's time to, again, transition out of or leave in some degree. And this is going to directly affect your commitments with other people. So I'm just pulling some cards as I'm talking to see kind of what is going to go on for you, Libra. Definitely during the whole month of March and half of April, you are really reflecting on different areas of your life. This is a good time to evaluate your relationships, to kind of look at how you maybe want to approach your boundaries differently. I did a whole separate video on Venus retrograde that I do recommend that you guys check out. It might also be a time in which you reevaluate your physical appearance and your health, and kind of take new things into consideration on how you might want to approach things differently. Okay, so let's see what some of these cards are saying. So we have the 7 of Wands, the 10 of Wands, and the Magician. It's interesting because the 10 does represent the final number of the tarot, and it does feel like there's something here that maybe you have been fighting for, or fighting against, or trying to push through. Maybe something in your life has felt physically or mentally challenging on you, or maybe there's just something going on where you've been having to push through a cycle, or something has taken a lot of effort or has taken a lot of energy out of you, or it's something that you really want, but it's a lot of responsibility, and people might in some ways challenge you on that, or you might have natural setbacks or natural challenges along that path. I feel like there is an existing path that you've been on that will resonate for. With the Magician coming in here, I feel like you guys are coming into a phase of greater manifestation around that path. So you're ending this kind of period of struggle. This might feel like you are stabilizing with something. Yeah, and I really feel like there's something very clear around ending here, because the 7th house in astrology is also called the setting place. And it is associated with like the finality of things, like the final celebration of a wedding or the death of a loved one. Just like it's where the sun sets over the horizon, is in that 7th house. And so it has this feeling of the day is done. So there's something about this where I feel like there is some strenuous cycle that you guys are wrapping up in your life. This might have been something that, again, put a lot of stress on your body or your mind or your nervous system. With the Magician, I feel like you are prepared now. There's something with this card, or you're getting prepared, or whatever the cycle was preparing you for some type of new path that's opening up for you. The Magician is somebody who has everything that they need. They're not necessarily out here struggling to find the solution to things. And I feel like you guys, again, were kind of weighed down with something, or you had something was maybe a little bit stressful or heavy, or you had resistance of some sort. King of Swords. Yeah, I feel like there is a recommendation. This card keeps coming out for like all of the groups, this one and the Queen of Swords. There's something here around needing to trust your own logic right now, because this is a Virgo eclipse. So Virgo is really good at helping you kind of discern what isn't working. And so as you're finally wrapping up some kind of cycle and you're entering into a period of maybe greater empowerment, or feeling more ready, or feeling like you are able to manifest something, I think you're also being asked to make some kind of practical plan with the Sun and Saturn in the 6th house. There might be something that you need to get into motion, or wrap your head around the logistics of something. So, Spirit, what is this eclipse trining Uranus in the 8th speaking about? What's a trine to Uranus? We have King of Pentacles, yeah, and the Wheel of Fortune. So I feel like you guys are maybe going to come into some money, or yeah, because this eclipse is trining Uranus in your 8th. The 8th house often indicates inheritance, or money that you get as a gift, money that you get from not earning something. I feel like there's going to be some kind of charitable act, or you might somehow get support from somebody in your life. I don't know. It just seems like someone's going to come in and maybe give you something that will help you along your path. This could be somebody who kind of represents an older, wiser man. That might actually be an older, wiser man, or it might just feel like they have that type of role in your life or that energy. But with the King of Pentacles and the Wheel of Fortune, I definitely feel like you guys are coming into some kind of, financial prosperity potentially. Or something is going to fall into place, like some material possession is going to be given to you if you need that, or if you need some kind of opportunity. I don't know. It just feels like you're going to have something emerge as a result of this really hard work that you've been putting in, or this challenges, this resistance. I feel like that resistance is done, and you might still feel it a little bit at this eclipse, but it seems like you've got over the hump with something, and there is some type of support coming in through a partner, through a friend, through a new job. It's like you're no longer in this period of maybe having to hustle. If you've been out of a job, for example, and you're just really worried about work, this could be a period where you're able to come into some kind of new opportunity that you're very well equipped for, very well prepared for, and that could increase your finances. Or this could be you going off and doing something on your own. So this is just an example, but it could be really anything. We also have the Empress and the Three of Pentacles. Yeah, I definitely get this vibe of you guys receiving something and working together with someone to accomplish something. It feels very much like you are some kind of benefactor. So if you've been struggling on your own, this period of time is going to ask you to turn to a partner, to a friend, to a loved one. And again, you can really see that with your planetary ruler being next to Mercury in the 7th house of other people in your life. So I really feel like the Empress is the energy of the universe giving to you, of feeling abundant. The Three of Pentacles is community. So there's something here around people really coming into your life to serve a purpose and to help you out. Mars has been retrograding through the 10th house, so maybe you could have felt like your career has kind of taken a back seat this last month or two when Mars was retrograding here. But now it's starting to stabilize with Mars trining Saturn in the 6th. I feel like you're getting more of a routine. You're getting more of a plan. And yeah, you're entering into this phase of luck. You can see this card here. The Wheel of Fortune represents that. And the King of Pentacles represents an energy of stability. So there's something in your material reality that is going to stabilize or manifest for you, especially if you have felt in any kind of way strained or uncertain about how you are going to make something happen. I really feel like that's going to start to come through for you. It's funny because the 12th house is often like how 12th and 6th house are often houses of misfortune in certain ways, but that's not really what I'm getting. I feel like the misfortune, that cycle of misfortune, if there ever was any of that, if there was ever additional stress or health issues, or again, struggle to make ends meet, or you were maybe having some roadblock or something getting in the way where you couldn't fully take that step, or maybe something took a lot of effort. I feel like that type of misfortune is ending for you. So Spirit, anything else for my Libras? Anything else that Libra should know, that they should be aware of for this eclipse? Okay, that's too many. Just one or two. Okay. Healing, yeah, and then nurture in reverse. Okay, yeah, this card really speaks to what I was just talking about. That there's something that might have caused you a little bit of stress. It could be anything, like work could have been stressful because people were annoying, or they weren't doing their job right, or family could have been stressful, or maybe you just had a lot on your plate, or maybe you were juggling, taking care of your health, or taking care of a baby and taking care of your entrepreneurship role. Like, it could literally look so different for everybody. But there's something in your life where you are being granted some access to healing. And that is often what the 12th house represents, is some kind of respite and moment of healing. So it can be in certain ways misfortune. And 12th house has a ton of meanings, which are very diverse. But another version of that is having healing. And I feel like you're healing from any misfortune, healing from any exhaustion, any burnout. And it's a time where you're meant to be pouring into your cup. With the sun and Saturn in the sixth house, this is a time of self-care, of routine, of focusing on the body, focusing on the mind, and just making sure that you feel really taken care of, because you are going to enter into, again, some kind of new and prosperous time. I feel like there's going to be some type of financial breakthrough, or you're going to have something come in kind of at the nick of time with that, with this moon trining Uranus in the eighth. Another representation of this could be feeling like if there has been, fears of, especially fears of like the unknown or the what ifs, or, what if I start this business and I fail, or what if I have a kid and they hate me or they die or something crazy like that. Well, this moon trining Uranus in the eighth indicates that you're kind of releasing some of those fears. You're coming into a place of healing and peace. So this eclipse is going to bring about an ability to release some old cycle where there may have been, again, some kind of issue in your life or some kind of misfortune or hardship, and you're coming into a phase of a lot greater luck, which I'm really excited to see that for you, and something really manifesting into the physical. And I feel like you're going to have a lot of support from the outside realm. So that's what I'm seeing for you, Libra. If that manifests, please let me know in the comments down below if that resonates. Don't forget to give me a thumbs up, subscribe, share with your friends, and have a beautiful day. Bye. All right, I'm going to say Scorpio rising and sun. For you guys, this Virgo lunar eclipse, which is a full moon, is happening on March 14th in your 5th house. Sorry, you're in your 11th house. And that means that the sun is opposite the moon in the 5th house. So the moon and south node are in Virgo in the 11th. The sun, Saturn, north node, and even Neptune are all in Pisces in the 5th. So what does this mean? First of all, an eclipse tends to bring really fated changes. With this being in the area of your friendships and community, there could be some things happening in your network, in the people that you see on a day-to-day basis, or even things that you see online that you're a part of. There could be some kind of significant changes in those areas of your life. It could also be a change to your kind of goals for the future as well. So, yeah, just be on the lookout right now for any important messages with this Knight of Swords. There could be some information trying to come in for you that is going to affect you somehow. So this could be having an important conversation with a friend, or hearing something online, getting some kind of positive news. The 11th house is also really beneficial in general. It has an auspicious and growth-oriented, abundant energy, the 5th and the 11th house. So it is possible with the Knight of Swords and the Three of Cups to have some kind of good news come to you. Maybe there's something that you celebrate because, again, somebody notifies you or something, or you get some kind of message. For example, my brother is a Scorpio sun, and he is currently trying to sell some property. So if he sells it, this would be an example of exactly this, where he gets the message or some good news around something positive happening. So there's just something about that. Some of you guys might also be trying to communicate more with your friends around their plans for the future, your plans for the future, like the exciting things that are happening in your lives. It could bring up all that kind of energy right now. The ruler of this eclipse, Mercury, is conjunct Venus retrograde in Aries in your 6th house. This is a really good time to be reevaluating certain elements of how you structure things within your work. This could also be around your health and your routine and how you structured your day-to-day. But Virgo is a sign of planning in certain ways, and really becoming like a discerning and discriminative in helpful ways, where you can figure out what isn't working. So this eclipse could also show you how there are certain plans that you have, or certain things that you are a part of that your current day-to-day life doesn't align with. So either you need to change your day-to-day life right now, or how you structure something, or you need to change the long-term goal. Yeah, interesting. Okay, I'm getting like another message for you guys entirely. So yeah, I definitely feel like there's quite a bit changing potentially in the area of relationships here for you, and maybe even contracts. And that's because this eclipse moon does make an almost exact trine to Uranus in your seventh house of relationships and contracts. So side message here, if you guys are in any kind of legal battle, I could see this eclipse bringing about some liberation and change or ending, or some type of freedom where you get maybe a positive outcome, or you at least feel like that cycle is over. So, okay, let's talk about some of these cards that I'm getting. I got the Six of Cups and the Five of Pentacles. I feel like this is a good time for you guys with the Knight of Swords and the Three of Cups. This is like a time of celebration, but there's also, I feel like, this kind of melancholy here where you might be like looking at the past and feeling okay, so a couple messages. You might be looking at the past and feeling some kind of nostalgia and feeling like a lack in your current reality because you had something in the past that is now changing. You could also feel like there are certain elements of your past that were a little bit scarce that you're coming out of. But there's just something here of like nostalgia, melancholia, feeling like a little bit down, or feeling like a little bit bummed out, or like something is like lacking a bit in your life. But this could be something from the past that you're getting over as well. Let me pull a card to see what area of life this is going to affect. So we have courage. What area of life is this talking about, or what is this talking about, Spirit? Independence. Yeah. Again, I feel like there's some kind of change to your social sphere somehow. And it might be calling you towards potentially greater independence. Like maybe you have certain friends that are not as available right now, or maybe you are going through a period of change and transition within your friend groups, or maybe you just don't have as much time to be social because you have work commitments. And I could really see that with, you know, the ruler of this eclipse, Mercury, being your sixth house of work. But there's just something here where I feel like the universe is kind of pulling you away a little bit from your existing community. And it might be because there is a little bit of a reformation happening there, where things are going to be kind of cleaned up, which is what Virgo is about. So I feel like there's going to be like a little bit of this kind of nostalgia of like, oh, I wish things were different. I wish I had more friends, or I wish I had more time to hang out with my friends. There's going to be, I feel like, a lot of changes happening with you and your friends. And it doesn't feel all bad, though. It feels like with the Three of Cups and the Knight of Swords, it feels like you have a lot of good stuff going on. So this almost feels like, oh, I got good news that I got this job and now I'm moving across the country and I'm leaving my friend group. Or my friend just announced that she's pregnant and so she's not going to be really available to hang out anymore. There's something like this where good things are happening in your lives, but I also see this feeling of people changing, people moving on, things, people relocating, things shifting in terms of your goals and your direction and how other people fit into that reality with you. Or if you work at a company, how maybe you are transitioning into a new type of role or a new type of company and you're going to miss your colleagues or something like that, where it's like things are moving and changing in a way, and you are going to potentially have that nostalgia for what things used to be like, even though the things that are coming in are good. With the courage card, I think part of your advice is to have courage on this path of independence. If you have a little bit of period where you're a little bit more alone, or where you're in a transition, or you're having to meet new people, if there's anything like that going on, the advice here is to not get down about this, and to focus on the positive, and to gather your courage to go out on your next adventure. Because with the Sun and Saturn and the North Node in the fifth house, I do feel like you're going to be in an energy of collection. So if there are certain elements of your connections or certain plans that you had, or things that you thought were going to play out in a certain way, and things are shifting now, and maybe you're a little bit more alone or independent somehow. If that is the case with the south node, or sorry, with the north node in the fifth house, I also think that there's something else coming in, and you're going to be again in some kind of phase of collection where you're going to collect new hobbies, where you're going to collect new friends, or you're going to go on different trips. So there's this feeling of like you're going to be going out there in the world a little bit more to get more. I don't know, some of whatever you're kind of giving up now. The next cards that I have is Ten of Pentacles upright and Eight of Swords in reverse. So I definitely feel like also if money has been a struggle with this eclipse being along this really abundant axis, I don't think that money is going to be an issue anymore. I really feel like things are going to start to stabilize for you. And Mars is making a trine to Saturn in your fifth house. Mars is in the ninth. So there's something about this period where you might start feeling a little bit more confident. I hesitate to say that because Mars is still squaring Chiron in the sixth, which is the exact opposite of feeling confident. But there's something here that's stabilizing. And I feel like it's going to give you like a general feeling of hope. There could still be some insecurity or worry that happens with Mars squaring Chiron, but that trine to Saturn feels like I can do more of what I love. I can spend more on something that brings me joy, or I feel like my money is stabilizing in a way, or I'm becoming more financially independent. Whatever this is, but it feels like something is kind of coming in and creating a sense of security. And if you did have any anxiety around maybe spending too much or having random things pop up that were kind of eating away at your finances, or if you were overthinking about money in certain ways, I see that cycle ending, or at least temporarily. I mean, obviously life is not static, so it could change in the future, but at this eclipse, I really feel like things are going to start to stabilize for you. Anything else, Spirit? Okay, so we have grounding, yeah, and then trust. Yeah, I feel like you're coming into more, this is kind of what I was trying to get at. I feel like you're coming into more of a period of trusting. Maybe you have something like come through for you where you again have some kind of good news that brings you more money, or you again, like my brother could sell his house, or if you want to buy a house you could get the go ahead on that, or maybe you've been pre-approved for a loan, or maybe your friend is going to, you got that contract for that job because your friend kind of hooked you up with it, or there's just something where it's like you're being stabilized, you're grounding into a more prosperous and stable reality, and you can trust more of like what's in the future. It feels like something that has longevity, or you have this, yeah, you feel like, okay, this isn't just a quick $100, right? It's something that's like, okay, I have a job or I have a house. Like these things are going to stay in my life for a second. And so you can kind of sink a little bit more into this path because you have some sense of sureness, or surety, if that's a word. So yeah, that's where the trust I think is really coming from. Okay. Anything else, Spirit? Actually, I kind of want to pull some more tarot. So you guys have been having Mars retrograde, so I think it probably feels really nice to finally have it direct. It might feel like you can finally create a plan for your future, or that things start to feel like they're opening back up in your world after a couple of, of January and February feeling maybe a little bit more like you're not progressing on certain things that you wanted to. I feel like you're going to feel a little bit better in that sense, though that square to Chiron, I do always worry about that a little bit. So anything else, Spirit, for my Scorpios? Six of Wands in reverse. Interesting. Queen of Wands in reverse, and then King of Pentacles. Didn't I already pull King of Pentacles? No, I got 10 of Earth. You guys, 10 of Pentacles and King of Pentacles are the two richest cards in the deck. So something in terms of like long-term stability and finances, or like a long-term place to live, or a long-term job to have, something like that is really coming through for you and you don't have to worry. What's interesting though is we did speak about the confidence thing, and I do see the Six of Wands and the Queen of Wands in reverse. These are cards of confidence and recognition and feeling like you are really kind of making progress and feeling really good about the progress that you're making, and you feel really inspired and you feel like everyone is seeing that in you, and you're getting like public recognition for the progress that you're making, or your family or friends are saying you're doing a really good job, or you're making some kind of impact. With these cards in reverse, you might have felt like that has been put on hold for you a little bit. Maybe you have felt like, again, with Mars retrograde, maybe I haven't made as much progress, or maybe I've been feeling a little bit insecure. Like, is this path for me? Am I on the right path? Am I doing the right thing? Am I doing it well enough? You could have maybe gotten a little bit more in your head over these last couple of months. And I feel like this is something that's meant to be let go of around this eclipse, especially with this sun part and the north node part of this eclipse being in the fifth house of recognition and confidence. This card is like speaking to that, where you're meant to be letting go of maybe some thought patterns that have kind of kept you in this phase of self-doubt. And that's what I see with the King of Pentacles. Once you start to turn that corner and you're like, actually, I'm doing really good. I'm believe in myself. I feel really stable. I feel like some good news is going to come in. It's going to reaffirm that you're on a good path, or that you have actually made pretty good headway. And you might have felt like life was not progressing in certain ways when you wanted it to. But this King of Pentacles feels like not just you pick up where you left off 2 months ago, but it's more like you were actually progressing more than you realized. It was just things were happening maybe beneath the surface. And now they're going to start to materialize around these two eclipses in March. So that's what I'm seeing for you, Scorpio. It looks very, very positive. Some good news is going to come your way. I hope that you enjoyed this. If it resonates, let me know in the comments down below. Don't forget to give me a thumbs up, subscribe, share with your friends, and have a beautiful day. Bye. All right, up next we have Sagittarius rising and sun. So for you guys, this Virgo lunar eclipse on March 14th is taking place in your 10th house. The moon is with the south node in Virgo on the 10th, and it's opposite the sun and Saturn and the north node, and of course Neptune in Pisces in your 4th house. So big changes for you, my Sagittarians, because this is happening along your career, your like life trajectory, and your home, your rootedness, your family axis. So there's something going to be shifting along those areas. I have kind of been having really positive messages overall for these eclipses, but I will say like the overview is not as positive. I feel like there is something that has been maybe a little bit stressful about these changes that are going to be coming up in your life. So if you've been wanting to kind of again make some kind of shift within your career, or elevate your career or life in some way, or if you have been wanting to change something within your home or within your relationships with your family, this might have been something that's been, again, a little like stressful up until this point, and then there could be some type of breakthrough around the eclipse. Maybe the energy I'm getting is so much more positive because Venus retrograde is conjunct Mercury, and Mercury is the ruler of this eclipse. So it kind of shows a lot of like the energy of what it's going to be like. And Venus, even when retrograde, still has a positive influence on Mercury. So yeah, I don't know. With Mercury, the ruler of this eclipse, being in your 5th and Venus there, I feel like you guys are needing to come into a phase of like a little bit more spontaneous self-expression, creative expression, confidence, enjoyment, pleasure, a sense of like flow, a sense of leadership with this Mercury being in Aries within the area of your career or your home life or your family. So these areas, especially your career, because that's where the moon is, but the sun is still relevant. So it could affect either part of your life. But I just really feel like you guys have been like, yeah, maybe selling yourself short a little bit. And this Mercury and Venus in the 5th is all about embracing your natural flaws. I don't know why that came through to me, but it's almost like not trying to be so perfect. Virgo, having a Virgo midheaven, you often can be in some type of service industry or service career or service role, and then in the zodiac, Virgos do tend to be kind of, if you think about service and you think about like maids, for example, or like, 6th house, which traditionally can rule over slavery. There's this feeling of like subservience and needing to kind of like prove yourself or be perfect for someone. And yeah, and I feel like, I don't know, there's this period of maybe needing to deconstruct with the Knight, um yeah, the Knight of Pentacles in reverse. The Knight of Pentacles upright feels like somebody who's very consistent, who does the same things day after day. And when it's in reverse, I feel like there's a need to break from routine. And with the Three of Pentacles, to work more collaboratively with someone or something. Or this could indicate that you're incorporating some kind of other element of your life into something that you're already doing. So, for example, let's say that you have, um, let's say that you have a career in like finance. I don't know. That's a bad example, but you have this whole other side to you that is maybe spiritual or creative. I could see you somehow like bringing different parts of yourself together where you somehow merge your spirituality and finance to become like let me be your accountant for your spiritual business. I don't know, this is a horrible example, please do not like invest into this example, but there's something about this where you can have some type of amalgamation of like two ideas, or there can be two people working together or three people working together. There's this feeling again of like cohesion, unity, collaboration, things coming together in a way that creates a more holistic or an authentic approach that feels not as much like, oh, this is how it's always done and this plays by the rules and da 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 da. And I think that this is partially because this eclipse is making an almost exact trine to Uranus in the sixth house of work and routine. So there's something about like your day-to-day work and routine, about the way that you handle your responsibilities or even your health and well-being. But there's something about it that's like too structured, or the structure of it is not working. It's like you need to break apart the system and reorganize it. And it again could involve more collaboration of some sort, or cooperation from other elements of your personality or other elements of your life. So it's like, let's bring things together. And that's the unity piece that I feel like Venus represents here. Being on the Mercury, the ruler of this eclipse, Venus is about relationships, partnerships, collaboration, unity, and understanding of one another. So there might be something where you're kind of reevaluating, certain relationships and how they play a role in your life, or how they can help you get certain things done. I know these are just a bunch of examples, but that's kind of what I'm seeing. You guys also have the Page of Swords, Two of Cups, and Page of Cups. Wow, I didn't even see that. Wow. Okay, this feels really significant because you've got two pages, Page of Swords and Page of Cups, surrounding the Two of Cups. So there's some kind of new beginning that I feel like you guys are taking in regards to potentially a romantic relationship, or again, when I'm talking about like bringing two people together, bringing two ideas together, or bringing two parts of yourself together to create like a whole, that's a Two of Cups. A Two of Cups is that soulmate, that mirroring energy of I found my perfect job, or I found that career that brings together all these aspects of myself, or I finally have maybe found the perfect home, or I finally have found out a way to have a more harmonious relationship with my family. I don't know. There's something this where it's like, let's bring in these two parts to create a whole. And with the Page of Cups and the Page of Swords next to it, it feels like it's a new beginning in regards to that. Like you're having some kind of new idea and like new emotional sensation or new emotional experience that is going to bring these sides together. This could also represent the two sides that are coming together. Page of Swords is like bringing together, the curiosity, the ideas, the exploration, the creativity, the learning from other people mixed with your intuition. And this could also be creativity. I mean, everything could be creativity in different ways, but yeah, your intuition, your emotions, and like what your instincts tell you of something. I don't know, this is not explaining it well, but basically there's two facets of maybe the logical and emotional mind, or two different types of people, or two different types of elements that are needing to come together. If this is a partner, this feels like a a little bit of like somebody's, not the opposite of me necessarily, because you're both pages, but they're bringing something else to the table. So this involves another person. Somebody else is going to bring something to the table that you don't have that is going to complete the picture. And I really see that with the Three of Pentacles. Again, this is the collaborative energy that I'm seeing of something like I need them and they need me, and we click into place and make this thing happen. But we do have to make sure that you deconstruct an existing routine, structure, what something looks like in your life. It's important that you kind of take a step back and be like, let's reevaluate this from a new vantage point where we're taking into consideration maybe two perspectives, for example, or two parts of myself. If I'm going to be happy, maybe I need to satisfy this and this part. How do I do that? Because maybe my current day-to-day routine or life or work doesn't reflect that, for example. Okay. Kind of feel like that's done with the tarot, but let me just see. Spirit, anything else for my Sagittarius with the tarot? Anything else for my Six of Wands in reverse? What is going on with this card? Yeah. Okay. Sorry, this just came out in the last group, but I'm like, I keep shuffling. So Six of Wands, I feel like when it's upright is somebody who's taking up a lot of space and they feel really confident and they're a leader and people respect them and look up to them and they're really getting their props for like a job well done. This might be something that has been, with it being in reverse, that might be something that's been a little bit more tender for you, especially with Mars in your 8th house squaring Chiron. I feel like what I mean to say by that is you're overcoming any sense of disempowerment. Mars in the 8th is about really feeling like you can handle your ish. In a natal chart, Mars in the 8th house can represent somebody who's really good in a crisis. So like if you worked in an ambulance, for example, or in a hospital, I would want to see Mars in your 8th house or something of that nature. So you guys are coming to this period, I feel like, where you're realizing how strong you are, how good you are in difficult times. And this Mars is trining Saturn in the 4th house. So there's something about you being like really even keeled or emotionally stabilized or coming into a place of feeling more sure of yourself or more confident, where you realize I can actually withstand or handle some of this like crisis, or I can handle these like things that are changing, or the pressure, for example. I don't know. It just feels like you're coming into a little bit more of like your sense of confidence and sense of self. Mars is still squaring Chiron, so I don't think that there's going to be like no insecurity at all. There could be some stumbling blocks, but something is stabilizing here where you're going to come from a place of, when Mars was retrograde through the 8th, you might have felt like disempowered. And now that it's going direct, or now that it is direct and this eclipse is happening and it's trining Saturn, things are starting to stabilize and you're taking concrete steps in your life to kind of stabilize how you feel. And maybe you're processing also with that trying to Saturn in the 4th. Maybe there's some old memories or emotions or past experiences that you're having to kind of work through and let go in order to feel that confidence. So maybe there were things that happened that you're like a little traumatized by, or that you carry with you emotionally when you're in these difficult situations, and maybe that affected you. But I feel like you're overcoming that. You're really, again, you're stabilizing. So you're letting that go you're letting those memories go that made you feel somehow emotionally thrown off. And I feel like what it's doing instead is, now that you're released from that, is now you can just be focusing on what brings you joy, what makes you feel passionate. And that is something that's really infectious. So with the ruler of this eclipse in the 5th house and also with Venus, I'm really getting the sense of like strong kind of creative energy or feeling more inspired. And so I feel like that's something that you're going to get as a gift as you restructure something and maybe work together, pairing different elements of your life or with different people working together to create something. I think you're going to start getting really like the spark of passion and desire, and it's going to help really elevate and move your career forward, or potentially move something forward in regards to your home or your family. Any last messages, Spirit, for my Sagittarius? Too many cards. Let's just do one. Any last message for my Sagittarius? We have co-creation. Oh my God. I feel like that's exactly what I've been talking about. This card talks about co-creation with the universe. Not that I don't see that. I mean, yeah, that's definitely a thing because we have all this energy in Pisces, all these planets in Pisces. But the co-creation to me is like the coming together of different parts. Again, different people, you co-creating with somebody else. It feels like, yeah, it feels like the social element of this is really huge. Or again, it could be a solo venture, but it's something that you're having to pull from different places. And once you bring that together, then it is the whole piece. So it's this, again, this collaborative effort. I don't know how many different ways I can say this, but co-creation to me absolutely means that you're not doing this in a singular way anymore. If you were like defined and structured to do something only by looking at one area of life, or only by working alone, or only by doing it this way, I see you breaking that all apart and bringing in diverse elements to mix something up in some type of way where it's going to feel more like you. And that co-creation element really speaks to the universe helping you in that process. And that you're, again, it's not this kind of like pinprick of focus, but it's becoming wider and in that sense more fulfilling for everyone involved in this. So that's what I'm seeing for your Sagittarius. If that resonates, I'd love to hear from you in the comments down below. Don't forget to give me a thumbs up, subscribe, share with your friends, and have a beautiful day. Bye. All right, up next we have Capricorn rising and sun. For you guys, this Virgo lunar eclipse on March 14th is taking place in your 9th house. The moon is with the south node in Virgo in the 9th, and then the sun is opposite it in Pisces with Saturn there, with the north node there, and of course Neptune, which is in your 3rd house. So, an eclipse along the 3rd, 9th house axis usually indicates some kind of paradigm shift, a belief shift. And this often involves you guys letting something go, like letting some perspective go and embracing something new when it comes to the way that you think about the world or think about yourself. Oftentimes, there can be a need for you guys to maybe explore like root causes for things, or yeah, where things come from, like your family, how this relates, how your perspectives and viewpoints of life relate to your family, because the ruler of this eclipse, Mercury, is in your 4th house and it's conjunct Venus retrograde there. So yeah, I think that there's going to be a lot of a reevaluation with a Virgo eclipse. Virgo's all about looking at what's not working and fixing it. That's why it's a sign of perfectionism. Then Venus retrograde is also a time when oftentimes things are reevaluated. Our values, our priorities, our relationships. We're looking at things through new eyes. Wow, and the cards are speaking to that. We have the Tower next to the Two of Cups. There could be some kind of significant change in relationships going on at this time. This could happen to somebody else in your life. This could happen to a family member, for example, or you could have just some kind of major turnover or change in regards to your relationships and your relationship status, or who you're friends with, or something with your family especially. But yeah, there's just something here. Let me pull some clarifiers about that. The Tower is an inevitable change, a fated change. Something often is taken away from with Tower involved. So yeah, let me pull some clarifying cards for that. What does this involve, Spirit? Salvation. So let me actually read the guidebook for that. Okay. The divine has intended you into being and given you the assignment to explore life through certain perceived limitations. You're meant to learn about life and all its complexities, especially learning about how to be in community with others. That's what we're speaking about. Like, something's going on here with the people in your life that's changing about your dynamics, and maybe your beliefs or perspectives on those dynamics are going to shift. And it's funny because it talks about working within perceived limitations. An eclipse like this can show you where you really think that you have limitations, and it can kind of poke holes in that so that you can look at it through a new lens. Um, you will never, okay, this card says you will never be alone in life's journey. The compassionate savior goddess of intimate friendship will ensure that the right people show up for you at the right time. Yeah, so some really major changes. This might be a message for some of you guys. If you have any relationships leaving your life, this is a message that new people are going to come in. If you're having some type of transition where you're losing connection to people, you're going to have people come in, and it's about restoring faith that things are going to work out for you. This could also indicate that if you've had people leave your life in the past or relationship turmoil in the past, this might be something that you're really healing from. And I can see that with Mars in the 7th, squaring Chiron in the 4th, there's some old memories in regards to your relationships that might feel a little bit triggering for you. Or maybe just old stuff with family, and it's like it's been on your heart for a while and you haven't fully letting it go. Well, Mars, good thing, is also making a trine to Saturn in the 3rd house, and it's going to help you make more sense out of things and help stabilize your mindset or come into a mindset that is more healthy, that is more constructive and more practical in a way. So I feel like if this tower represents something of the past, I really feel like this card is saying new people are going to come in, or relationships are going to stabilize, or the things that have been maybe tumultuous or traumatic in regards to other people, you're going to start to feel like there is a renewed sense of hope that, you know, that you're not going to be alone. Even if they're not all these people coming in yet at this exact eclipse, this is a reassurance. And that's what an eclipse in the 9th house often is again, some kind of perspective shift. And it's oftentimes a perspective shift that tries to open you up to a feeling of more security, to a feeling of more trust, that things are more optimistic or they're going to work out in your favor. And I really see that, you know, with the ruler of this eclipse in the 4th, it's like feeling secure, feeling trusting that things are going to kind of work out and stabilize. This card reminds you that your needs will always be met. You don't need to know the how. That is her domain. You just need to trust. That's exactly what I was just saying. And the goddess Green Tar will use her magic on your behalf. You are safe and secure. Always in the care of the divine. I just said that, safe and secure. I think security, emotional security, is a really big thing for my Capricorns right now. I think you guys are needing to feel like, you know, your needs are going to be met, that your financial needs are going to be met, your friendship needs are going to be met, that you're not going to be alone, that things are going to be taken care of, that the things that have maybe been tower moments in your life, that things that have been changing or in a flux, that everything is going to turn out okay, or things are going to stabilize and you're going to be supported. And this is your message that yes, it will. Okay. So what else do we have for my Capricorns? We have the Knight of Pentacles in reverse, which is interesting because the last group had that too. And then you have the Patience card in reverse, which is Temperance in tarot. So this is super interesting. I really feel like you guys are maybe coming into a phase, especially because like one of the biggest aspects of this moon is this almost exact trine to Uranus in your 5th house. So this feels like coming into a phase of spontaneity. You know, the Temperance is somebody who's living in moderation, who's being very, you know, sensible, right? Like, I'm going to make the right and pragmatic decision. And Virgo's a lot about that. Virgo's like, I got to make the right decision. I got to be perfect. And with also the Knight of Pentacles in reverse, this is somebody who's, like I was mentioning in the last group, doing the same thing day after day. Very consistent effort, which is good. It helps you get things moving. But both of these cards are in reverse. So there's something about this eclipse, again, with the moon trining Uranus in the 5th, which the 5th house is all about fun and pleasure and travel. And again, spontaneity. I feel like you guys are coming into an era of like letting your hair down a little bit. It's funny because we're talking so much about security, and that is a big focus with the moon, the eclipse ruler in your 4th house of home and security and rootedness. You know, this whole element of, you know, where do I belong? Do I feel safe? Do I have my needs met? That is a priority for you. But there's also another layer on top of that, So there's like the safety layer, which is survival, and then the second layer is like the thriving. It's the fun. Is my life playful? Is my life adventurous? Am I meeting new people? Am I going new places? Am I taking risks in life? And that's also what a ninth, fifth house axis, not axis, but aspect, trine, will do with eclipses, because the ninth and fifth house are, if you equate them to signs, Leo and Sagittarius, and these are very fun signs. They're flirty signs. They're adventurous signs. They're creative signs. They're unafraid, and they put themselves out there. And again, they take certain risks. So I feel like you guys are needing to move into an era of being a little bit more, again, spontaneous, or having some shake up in your life, having some travel or some break in your routine, or studying something new, or going somewhere new, meeting new people. You guys need this, and this is going to fuel you. And that's a big part of what the sun and also Saturn and North Node moving through the third house is. The third house is about movement. Literally, when I think about the third house, I think about Gemini, because that's, in modern astrology, they would equate it with that sign, which is not really what traditional astrologers do. But anyway, when you think about Gemini, Gemini rules over the mind. It rules over the nervous system and the brain, and just how things are always like da, 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 communicating with each other. And that's how I think about the third house, as well on land. I think about cars, commuting, and people going from one state to another and meeting someone here and networking there. There's this feeling of like getting out, getting about, and moving in life, running your errands, running around, getting shit done, and being like not living the same day every day. And so you guys, I think, are in an era right now for this next, or chapter, I should say, because era is really overused. But while the North Node is in Pisces, you are in a chapter of your life where you're meant to embrace this need for change, this need for movement, this need for, again, variety, or to meet new people, or challenge yourself through new hobbies. So just think about those things that like bring the sense of like aliveness back to you, the sense of curiosity to you, because that's kind of where I see spirit trying to lead you right now. And I think an eclipse in the ninth house is a lot about like taking a leap of faith, or being brave, being courageous, believing in your, like investing in your heart and your desires, rather than the super like critical voice. Yes. Oh my God. I literally just pulled this card, adaptability. It came out in reverse, so there might be a message here about you maybe have been too stuck, or too rigid, or too like, it's gonna be this way, and this is what my plan to do, what my plan is. Like, there's something here where it's like, girlfriend, it's time to get on your toes. It's time to adapt. It's time to move and flow with life. And if you haven't watched the Pisces new moon video that I did recently, go and watch that one, because it's all about coming into a state of flow. There might be a message there for you. But this adaptability card is speaking to how you need your life to feel like there are, like, imagine somebody that's, and this is so funny. Sorry, my brain's like jumping everywhere. It's so funny because Capricorn rules over the skeletal system, bones. And I'm a Capricorn moon, so I'm very aware that if I spend too much time sitting down, I get really achy, and I get really tight, and my bones and my joints get achy and stuff. So I have to constantly move and do yoga and things like that to counteract the natural consequence of a Capricorn moon becoming really stiff. So there's something about this where Capricorn will tend to solidify and harden, and it will age as well. And Gemini and Mercury are the sign and planet associated with youthfulness, because there's this quality to them that is, again, light on their feet. They're always changing, they're always moving and adapting, and they have this curious, youthful, childlike quality. So you're meant to be embracing more of that. If you've been too much in your old wise person Saturn energy of, I'm getting a little bit, I'm going to sit here and read my newspaper and da da da, I feel like that's all meant to be changed, because if you're not adapting, then things start to, again, harden, and they actually become painful and uncomfortable. And that's what I feel like the universe is saying. Like, it's just divine timing to have less maybe consistency with something, or less everything being the same, or rigidity, or something being exactly how you thought. And it's more of a time to open your mind to new ways of looking at life and new avenues, new paths. And the only way to do that is to have fun and explore at your own whim and follow your heart, follow your desires, rather than like having all this thing planned out, which is super opposite from a Virgo energy, right? So Virgo might have, this Virgo eclipse could show where there's resistance to that as well. Okay. Any last messages for my Capricorns? Okay, we have fertility and attraction. Okay, some of you guys want to get pregnant. This eclipse could also bring about something with that, because we do have, this eclipse making, again, an almost exact trine to Uranus in the fifth. The fifth house is the house of fertility, our chance of getting pregnant, children. So you might notice that some of you guys get pregnant. So if you don't want that, then use protection. Another element of this is saying that you are going to be attracting the right people into your life. And we can see that with Mars finally direct in your seventh house. You're going to be attracting more people. You're going to be becoming more attractive. And I also think that's going to help you lay some kind of fertile ground. Something I think is like almost on the cusp of coming to fruition, with this card being 29, and 9, of course, is the last number before it resets to a new cycle with 30 or 1. So there's something here where I feel like you guys are right on the precipice of a breakthrough or a massive change in your life. And that's why you need to be adaptable and be curious and open, because you might have some new ideas or new information or new paths come in for you. And if you don't, if you have your blinders on and you're rigid and you're like, this is the way, then you might miss this really fertile opportunity for you. So be open-minded, be curious. You are in a very attractive energy right now. And I think that there's a lot that's trying to come in for you that might take you away from a very set path, but it's going to still feel like it's something really in alignment, and it will likely converge with what you're doing now anyway. So if you're feeling what you're doing now is aligned. So that's my message for you, Capricorn. If that resonates, I'd love to hear from you in the comments down below. Don't forget to give me a thumbs up, subscribe, share with your friends, and have a beautiful day. Bye. All right, and next we have Aquarius rising and sun. For you guys, this Virgo lunar eclipse is happening on March 14th in your 8th house. The moon is conjunct the south node. That's what makes an eclipse. An eclipse are the nodes, and the sun and moon being along them. The sun is opposite the moon in the second house. So the sun is in Pisces with the north node here, and Saturn and Neptune in your second house. So what is this bringing for you? Well, first of all, I feel like there is going to be the potential for some type of healing, especially in terms of a conversation or your mindset around something, because the 8th house often is where we have our sensitive spots. We can have, things in the 8th house. I mean, there's so many meanings to 8th house, but it's usually the house of crisis. It's usually the house of trauma, of things that cause us fear and stress or distress. And so, and insecurity as well. And with this eclipse happening here, I really feel like a lot of, Aquarius, for you guys, a lot of this energy is here to kind of help pull out that. It's almost, I'm seeing like if someone got bit by a snake and then they had to suck the poison out. That's kind of what this feels like, almost like a detox. Let's alleviate something. Let's get rid of something. And it's going to help with this purification process. There might be something new that you're trying to establish in your life, or something that you really want in your life. And you have to kind of, again, get rid of some of this old energy kind of surrounding you in order to be able to do that. So yeah, I feel like there's a really exciting fresh start coming in for you with the 9 of Cups and the Fool card. Something really aligned with your heart's desires is either presenting itself as an opportunity to act on, or you are becoming aware of something that you really want. So this feels like a phase of your heart is opening again, or you're getting excited about something. And with the Fool card, it's almost like this giddy feeling of like, oh, that's that can come through for me. That's so exciting. This might be part of what Mercury in the third house is about. You know, Mercury rules this eclipse and it's next to Venus. You might meet somebody new, or there could be some kind of new idea that you have, or this new venture that you can go on that might be really fun for you. So it's something that like you hear about it and you're like, ooh, that sounds great. Like I would love to do that. Or, ooh, that's really good news. Or something that's again opening up for you that's like fresh and that your heart is super excited about. But in order to get to that place, I feel like you, again, there has to be some kind of like purification, or something has to leave, or you have to let something go, or you have to make a decision to end maybe some kind of cycle. There's something in regards to that. It's like, yeah, I feel like you have to maybe face some type of feeling with the moon card in reverse. I feel like you guys, there is something good that's really wanting to come in. I mean, really positive and truly a clean slate. But you first have to kind of go wrap up some kind of cycle. This says 1-8, that adds to a 9, which is that last final step before a cycle ends. And this is the moon card. When it's upright, it's talking about something that you are kind of hiding from yourself. When it's in reverse, it's illuminating something. It's making something clear. So I think you guys are maybe finding, yeah, I feel like you guys are maybe finding something illuminated around the self, especially when it comes to maybe your sense of self-worth or your confidence in yourself. That could come up with the Queen of Wands in reverse. There might also be something here around like passivity with the Four of Swords being in reverse, where you might realize that you've been almost like on the sidelines a little bit with something in your life, or like tolerating something, or you might have been, yeah, I don't know. It's like maybe needing to take charge with something, or maybe you need to be more confident or put yourself out there more or go for something more. But instead, you've kind of been in a phase of maybe like, I'll do that later, or introspection, or I don't know. So there's something here about kind of needing to, I think the poison that's being sucked out is almost like the overthinking mind, or the part of you that is maybe doubting yourself or undermining yourself or disempowering yourself in some type of way. Yeah, and I feel like it could disguise itself with this moon card being reversed. I think the disguise will be dropped, but it could disguise itself previously as being tired, or just not being sure about something, or just like needing to rest, needing to reflect, like with the Four of Swords, like yeah, I don't know. It's like, just, oh, I'm just not taking action on that yet because it's not the right time. I don't know. It's like these little things of kind of putting something off or pushing something out of the way. And really, you're supposed to be in a time of productivity, because Mars is now direct, and Mars is direct in your sixth house. It's also trining Saturn in your second. This is a time to like get the ball rolling in a very material reality. So I'm going to make the plans and follow through and take the actions, and it's going to produce a material result. I'm going to save the money. I'm going to get that job. I'm going to make this change to my finances or my work situation. There's something in your physical reality that you're doing, and it's time for that, right? It's time to be moving forward with that. There could still be some insecurities because Mars does square Chiron in the third house. So it's not all rainbows and sunshine. But I don't know. I just feel like you're coming out of a phase of like malaise. Is that the right word? Like where you're like in a daze. Do you guys know that Pokemon where it's kind of like drool? It's like I think it's a plant and it's like drooling. That's what I got an image of something like lethargic or disconnected, or maybe you've been, yeah, just like not on your game. Maybe you haven't been working out as much. Maybe you haven't been as productive. Maybe you've been a little bit more tired. Maybe you've been not going on certain adventures, not like believing in your creative work, or maybe you're not, you know, producing as much as you normally do in terms of being what's that word? God, why am I struggling with words today? Where you produce a lot creatively. What's that word for that? It's something with a V. Not voracious. Anyway, maybe I'm not. I think, yeah, even the fact that my brain, I feel like I'm like stuttering on things. Like, I mean, yes, granted, I'm kind of like this, but I think that it's gotten a lot worse when I've gotten to this pile. I feel like I'm like hiccuping my way through this reading. And I don't know, there's something where I feel like you guys really want a fresh start. You really want something. This could be that you really want to have a certain amount of finances. You really want your body to look a certain way. You really want a certain type of relationship. You really want to go on a certain trip. You really want something, you know, with your kids or with your creativity. It's going to be different for all of you. But you have to kind of realize where you've maybe, again, been disengaged with life in some kind of way. Okay, I feel like I've been beating a dead horse, so let's move on from that. What else, Spirit, is coming up for them? Justice in reverse, 3 of Cups. Anything else, Spirit? 3 of Swords. That makes a lot of sense with an eclipse in the 8th house. Clarifier for the 3 of Swords, Spirit. 8 of Cups, 3 of Pentacles. Yeah, I feel like you guys... Okay. With the 3 of Swords, 8 of Cups, and 3 of Pentacles, there's something that you have either recently or something that you still need to walk away from that is causing you some type of emotional discomfort or even physical discomfort. It might be something that you've been ruminating about, or you've been having, you know, fights with your spouse about, or you've been, you know, keep eating the wrong foods that make you sick, or it's like a topic or something that you're invested in your life, or a relationship that you're in, whatever, it doesn't matter. There's something that's like, it's causing you pain and discomfort, and you, I feel like, have been not fully aware at how much discomfort this was with that moon card in reverse. And now this eclipse is going to make it really clear that you have to like suck the poison out of the wound, because you might have let it just sit there for a second, like look at the clouds and like, oh, what a beautiful day. And then you're like, oh, I'm dying. My leg is on fire. I have to do something about this. So there's something about this where it's like, and I think this came up during the Venus retrograde for my Aquarius as well, because, so I would go ahead and watch that because Venus is retrograding all of March. But one of the messages that came up was like not being so avoidant or detached, like really feeling something, really facing something, really addressing something. And I feel like there's something that you're meant to walk away from, or that you already have walked away from. And then you're going to enter into a phase of rebuilding with the 3 of Pentacles. It feels like once you decide to detach from whatever that thing was, and you no longer invest in that thought process, or you no longer eat that way, or you no longer, you know, take that bullshit from your boss, or whatever this is, it's like you're able to make some kind of constructive change after that. Yeah, any clarity on that constructive change? We have stimulation. Yeah, I kind of get this of like standing your ground with something, or setting a boundary with something, or like, you know, if you're angry, if you need to be angry, expressing that, or if you're like really passionate about something, going for that. I don't know. It feels like instead of being disengaged with life, we're coming into a phase of, again, rebuilding. And there's this solidness of like, this is where my boundaries are. This is who I am. This is what I want. This is the direction I'm going in. Get on board or get out kind of vibe. That's what it feels like with the stimulation card. It's like this fire and this also firmness that I think comes from Mars trining Saturn in the 2nd house, where you're like, I'm doing the work. You know, I'm like, I changed my whole eating routine. I'm working out now. I'm saving money now. If you're not on board with that, then get out of my way, because you're a distraction. And I think that's also kind of part of what having all these planets like the Sun, Saturn, and the North Node and Neptune in the 2nd house is. It's helping you really come into that sense of like self-worth and independence and that firmness that is necessary to see something through, or to really engage with something in a really passionate way. This might sound a little abstract, so hopefully that's making sense. Okay. This eclipse is also making almost exact trine to Uranus in the fourth house. So there could be something that's changing in regard, or that needs to change in regards to your home, your family, or your emotional security or financial security. Let me pull some cards on that. What is changing here, Spirit, in regards to this eclipse trining Uranus in the fourth house? Okay, so we have so many of these are in reverse. Oh, interesting. Okay, so we have 8 of Wands in reverse, the Hierophant in reverse, and then the 9 of Pentacles upright. Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting because I really felt like different energies for every group. And for you, what I'm hearing or what I'm seeing with this is with the 8 of Wands and the Hierophant in reverse, followed by the 9 of Pentacles, there's something here where you guys are needing to come into a really stable place with the 9 of Pentacles. Maybe you need to stand more on your own 2 feet, like I mentioned, being more confident, seeing more of your own worthiness, asking for more money, being more independent in things that are going to serve you, or kind of cutting out your own lane with something, not relying on someone as much, or not feeling as vulnerable as well, because you're growing more in your own firmness and your own passion, your own sureness. So that's what I feel like you're moving towards. And that's what I think this eclipse trining Uranus in the fourth house represents, is you're meant to make certain changes to your life so that you can create this sense of groundedness, rootedness, financial security, a sense of confidence and independence. There's this feeling of like, I can do this alone. And in order to do this alone, I need to have, this amount of money in savings. I need to have this kind of plan. I need to make sure that I have all these boxes checked, I'm taken care of. And that creates the right environment for the real magic, which is feeling confident in your own skin and really secure, and then manifesting things into your reality. So how do you do that? Well, part of how you can create this change for security, to create that security, is by starting to, okay, first of all, I think you have too many irons in the fire with the 8 of Wands. Maybe you're trying to go too fast towards something, or you have too many things going on at once and you're a little bit like distracted. There's this feeling of like, again, and that's kind of what I was getting with the drooly plant thing that I saw. There's this energy of like you guys not focusing almost on what's really happening, what you're really feeling, or what you really want. It's like this feeling of being distracted, of ignoring something or detaching from something. And the 8 of Wands, I feel like, is indicating somebody who's really busy and they've got a lot of priorities and they're kind of being pulled in a lot of different directions. And Venus retrograde right now, especially by Mercury, can help you really get clarity on what those values and priorities are. Especially with this being in your third house, I feel like you've been, again, kind of all over the place. The third house is very scattered. And so it's time to reprioritize and get a little bit more focused. And then the second message with the Hierophant is in reverse is also being willing to experiment, in the sense that the way that you go about creating that security doesn't have to look like what you've done before. It doesn't have to look a certain way that is kind of preordained or established already within society. And that's what Uranus is about. And again, Uranus is trining this moon. So there's something about this where you can create more rootedness, but you can do it your own way. This doesn't need to be this prepackaged thing where you're like, okay, well, this person decorated their house like this, and that's how they created their sense of home and their sense of security, so I'm going to follow that. No, it's like, I mean, that's just a weird example, but there's something about that where it's like innovate and authenticate, like make sure it's authentic to you. So that is how you're going to create that sense of security, and then all those other good things that will come with that. Yours is the longest reading so far, Aquarius. You might have some stuff going on. Let's see. Any other messages for my Aquarius? Okay, we have radical acceptance and assurance. Oh my God, this is the thing that I've been talking about. I feel like you guys have been disconnected from like what is true or what's in front of you. You've been off in the clouds, or you haven't like fully felt something. And this radical acceptance card in reverse speaks about that, and how you're meant to come into a phase of like facing something head on, accepting something for what it is, feeling something all the way through, dealing with something all the way through, sucking out that poison, not letting it sit there in your life. You can't, again, gaze off into the clouds when you're literally dying. Again, you're not actually dying. I shouldn't say literally, but when there's something going wrong, it's important to come into a direct observation of what is wrong and accept what is wrong, because that is the only place in which you can become empowered to make a necessary change to get rid of the poison. And I see that with the assurance card, that spirit really wants to assure you that once you do this, the next steps will come to you and they will actually resolve the issue. So it's something that might actually not take that long to resolve that you think it will, or it's something that's a little bit maybe more simple than you think it is, or maybe you'll tackle it with a lot more resilience and empowerment than you think you will. So there's something here. It's like, rest assured that this is not only going to work out in your favor, but it's not maybe going to be as hard as you thought it would be to address the issue. And it almost gets built up in your head when you like continue to ignore something or not feel something or not address something, than if you just kind of, again, kind of nipped it in the bud. And I see you guys doing that with this eclipse. Okay, Spirit, what other messages? So we have victory. Yeah, this is just reaffirming you're going to be victorious over whatever this is. If, for example, if you're having financial difficulty or debt, this is you victoriously paying it off and you facing the debt and being like, this is a problem. Let me pay it off. Let me resolve this and let me change my money habits and save more. So that could be a real life example for you guys where you create that security, but maybe you make more money or change the way that you budget and do it in a way that fits you. And with that Eight of Wands in reverse, maybe you stop running around everywhere like with chicken your head cut off, spending money here and there, and you start to focus on what is the priority for you. So that could be a real life example of this. So that's what I'm seeing for you, my Aquarius. If that resonates, I would love to hear from you in the comments down below. Don't forget to give me a thumbs up, subscribe, share with your friends, and have a beautiful day. Bye. All right, next we have Pisces rising and sun. This Virgo lunar eclipse on March 14th is taking place in your 7th house of partnerships and contracts. The moon is with the south node here in the 7th house, and it's opposite the sun, Saturn, Neptune, north node in Pisces in your 1st house. So this could definitely bring some major changes to people in your life, to relationships, to yourself and your health, to your sense of well-being, to your idea for what you want out of your life or out of your relationships. A lot of things can undergo a change here. The ruler of this eclipse, Mercury, is also sitting next to Venus retrograde in your 2nd house of finances. So this is also a really important time right now to be sitting down and thinking about the ways that you make and manage your money, and also what you value and prioritize and how you spend money on that. So think about this, as well as your self-worth and your self-concept, because these are the areas that may need a little bit of review. So for example, if you've been in a phase right now where maybe you've had a few things come up financially that are out of nowhere, or maybe your finances have changed somehow, this eclipse can show you where you might be able to make some necessary adjustments to your life to reflect how those things in your life have changed. If you make less money, for example, maybe you need to reduce your, your cost of living, or maybe there are, whatever. You get what I'm saying. Okay, I just pulled the love card in reverse. So again, definitely changes going on in your relationships are possible. So if there are existing issues, the fact that we have the Venus retrograde happening at the same time as this eclipse in your 7th house, I mean, you could decide to choose yourself. That could be part of what this reprioritization is that I'm choosing myself. Maybe certain relationships or people in my life are hurting me. Maybe they have disappointed me. And this could be from the past, but I kind of feel like this is more present given the energy of the eclipse. So maybe certain people have broken my heart, maybe a family member, a friend, a partner. And it's time to kind of feel like I am going to solidify and protect myself and create a sense of security for myself by being more independent, by prioritizing myself, by putting certain boundaries in place. I don't know, speaking with them about something, getting something straight. It just feels like you need to listen to your own gut about something with the Page of Cups. Really listen to your intuition. You have quite a strong energy with the North Node in your sign where it's really emphasizing that, my Pisces, you are on point with your gut, with your heart, with your intuition. You know something. This year especially, like, when something is wrong for you, and you're going to have to listen to those signs. So you might need to also be willing to kind of bare your heart a little bit with this Page of Cups. There's a sense of innocence with this card where you're willing to feel or to express in a vulnerable way and an open way, with kind of an innocent mindset, not going in with the judgment, which can be a little hard with Saturn involved. Saturn can be a little critical. So you might feel like, oh, they're going to judge me, or da, da, da. But I really feel like you guys, I don't know, there's something in your relationships, or even a relationship with a job. Like, it doesn't have to be one person, but it could be something that you're involved in, and it's causing you some kind of stress or heartbreak. And it's like, how do we embrace how we feel and trust our own instincts about how we feel, and also potentially share with others how we feel in a vulnerable and like innocent way? You also have the Knight of Pentacles. So yeah, I really feel like this is a time in which you guys are needing to create some kind of stability for yourselves. And I think part of this is going to be finances. It's so weird. So many of the groups are getting the same cards, and I did shuffle them, so I don't know why. But you got the Knight of Pentacles, Queen of Wands. I feel like the stability that you need to create is a sense of self-worth. You need to rebuild your self-worth. There's something about your self-worth, your self-image, what you've accepted from people, or things that have happened in your relationships that have maybe taken a little bit of a toll on your self-concept, and again, your like self-worth and your value. And I think you guys need to come into a phase of doing things on a day-to-day basis that build you up. And I see this with Mars being in your 5th house, trining Saturn in your 1st. So Mars in the 5th is you guys exploring a lot more of your creative interests, your hobbies, maybe you hanging out with your friends more, going on trips more, just doing things that like really light you up as a person, or that feel like they naturally express your innate gifts. If you have children, this could look like you really spending a lot more time with your children and them lifting you up in that sense. But there's something here, it's like, this person or this thing that I like to do, it brings me joy. It feeds my soul. And I think that you guys need to rebuild something. Mars trines Saturn in the 1st. You need to rebuild yourself, your self-concept, your sense of stability, your sense of self-worth. You need to heighten your self-respect and your self-esteem. And you can do that by feeding your soul these things that bring you joy and pleasure. It's like you're showing yourself that you deserve this luxury of having a time to do your hobbies, or time to go to a spa, or time to spend with your loved ones, or whatever it is that lights you up the most. By showing yourself that you deserve to pour into yourself, you rebuild that self-esteem. Yeah, 9 of Pentacles. I really feel like you're meant to be standing on your own. This is a card of independence, financially, emotionally, self-sufficiency. So it's like something about this time is really going to show you with this Virgo eclipse where you maybe have allowed somebody to, I don't know, it's like maybe you've been too dependent on someone, or there's been dysfunction in relationships and it's pulled you off course, or maybe you've lost some of that spark, or maybe you feel like you've lost some of your money because of other people. Whatever this is, you need to be more independent and rebuild yourself. Okay, we also have 9 of Wands, 10 of Cups, King of Wands, wow, and then 9 of Cups in reverse. Way too many cards. It's going to be my last cards, I think. Okay, 9 of Wands and 10 of Cups. I'm going to take these into 2 groups. So 9 of Wands, 10 of Cups. You guys have been trial by fire. There is something that I think you've been going through lately. It could be the fact that Saturn's in your sign. Maybe you haven't been going through it, but usually 9 of Wands is somebody who's going through it. They're stressed. They're put under duress. They are they just have more on their plate, and it feels like they kind of trudging up a mountain with a really heavy backpack. Then we have the 10 of cups, which is the emotional fulfillment. This is like the best card of the deck because it represents something clicking into place for you and you feeling really, really grateful for some kind of outcome in your life or to some kind of fulfillment. So I don't know. I feel like you're needing to switch modes from survival mode to thriving mode. And that's the rebuilding that I'm talking about. And I think that, again, Mars in the fifth is a lot about feeling more alive. And I think that if relationships have deteriorated you at all, if you have felt like I got to just survive, I just got to make it to the next day and I can do this, just one more step. It's like, no, you're shifting modes now and you're meant to be leaving that old paradigm, that old cycle. You're meant to be closing it out and shifting into a new cycle where it's one of attraction, magnetism, abundance, inspiration, excitement, pleasure, joy, fun, sociability, connection, ease. All these really beautiful things that create really lasting emotional fulfillment. You're going from, again, that survival mindset to that place of thriving. And it's all going to come from leaving some kind of cycle in the past. Okay, King of Wands and the Knight of Cups in reverse. Okay. Again, I feel like you really are needing to come into a phase of building up your confidence. You have King and Queen of Wands. I kind of feel like this is talking about you. It could be talking about a partner, I guess, because they are the matches of each other. I forget what the counterparts of each other. But I feel like this is, again, so focused on you. Even though this is an eclipse in your relationship sector, it's a lot about you, like, getting out of maybe a draining dynamic and rebuilding the self. Especially if that person or that thing that you were committed to was really critical of you or was judgmental of you or kind of stressed you out in some way or they saw certain flaws. I don't know. It's like getting out of that, shaking that all off and like rebuilding up who you are and what you deserve. And it could be any kind of relationship or any kind of commitment. So again, King of Wands, I feel like it's this beautiful marriage within the self, a union within the self to have the King and the Queen of Wands. I feel like you're trying to come back to yourself. You're trying to piece yourself together, bring all sides of yourself back. It's almost like if you had a really draining job and then you finally quit and you can pursue hobbies and things that you used to do. And you're like, wow, I feel like a totally new person after leaving that toxic dynamic. That's the vibe of this. And it's obviously not going to impact everyone the same. If you have any planets around 23 degrees of the mutable signs, Gemini, Sagittarius, Pisces, or Virgo, it's going to affect you more personally. So yeah, I think that's you're coming back online. You're doing more of what you love. You're reconnecting with your heart. Knight of Cups in reverse. This is interesting because this upright is a card of like the romantic person, the Don Juan, the person who like jumps into the bed of whoever they're interested in. Not that you can't do that because you do have Mars in the fifth, so there is that sexual energy there. But this is in reverse. So I feel like it's almost kind of telling you in some ways to disconnect from that romantic archetype that Pisces, oh my God, Pisces, you are like the ones who fall head over heels. You truly just, you love and you can lose yourself in love. And that is the thing with the Knight of Cups in reverse that we're trying to like back away from. So that I think is the part of like, let's not romanticize or find like wear rose colored glasses or find the good in this person or the situation anymore. Let's kind of disconnect from that mode of feeling. It's almost like, let me purposely turn my heart off. Let me purposely try to stop missing you or try to stop loving you or try to emotionally disengage from this thing because Knight of Cups, I feel like it can be like really emotionally volatile. It feels like you're on this boat and it's rocking and it's rocking. And it's like it's deciding to get off. It's deciding to be like, all right, I'm not going to be on this emotional roller coaster. I'm not going to invest in these emotions or whatever this is. Instead, I'm going to put my time and energy into this thing that I'm really excited about, this new passion or this new hobby or this new friend or this new interest. and get out of the emotional waters of Pisces. You know, there is so much Pisces again with Saturn, North Node, Neptune, Sun, all in that sign. Um, it's almost like too much for you guys since you're already a Pisces. I almost feel like it would benefit you to move more into the fire energy. Is there any? Yeah, we have Mercury and Aries, Venus and Aries. I think that would benefit you more to move into that sense of like passion and independence and separation, um, and yeah, confidence and all that type of thing. You know, instead of feeling that, feeding that like sappy like romantic part of you, you're like, what I'm gonna go on some adventure. I'm gonna go skydiving, scuba diving. I'm gonna go hiking on my own, and there is no time to sit around and watch rom-coms and eat ice cream and feel bad for myself. Okay. Any other messages for Pisces spirit? Okay, romantic love. I mean, I want to come up with more than romantic love for you guys because this could be there's so many of you out there. But yeah, I feel like this for a lot of you guys, I mean, especially if there's someone out there who needs to have a major change in their relationship, this is your sign. The romantic love card is saying that things are needing to shift in your relationships, in particular with the radical acceptance and devotion in reverse. You guys need to come into a phase of accepting the reality of a situation or the reality of a person, not wearing those emotional rose colored glasses and thinking about all the good times you had and it wasn't that bad and whatever. And then the devotion card is like, girl, you have been so loyal, so devoted to this thing that is toxic, that is hurting you, that is not getting you anywhere. And it's actually taking away your confidence and destabilizing you. You're having to go through this whole process of rebuilding. So it's a time to check yourself and be like, okay, I need to own this and realize I've been committed to the wrong areas of my life or the wrong people or whatever. I've been devoted to the wrong idea and I've romanticized something or someone in my life to the point where it's like not serving me at all, and I need to accept that this isn't what I want it to be. Accept what the reality is in front of me, and from that place you can rebuild into something that's actually really, really positive. Didn't we have like one of these cups cards? Let me see. Yeah, we had the 10 of cups, you guys. This is what you could have on the other side of the release of this energy. So just know, rest assured that if you are willing to own the reality of an uncomfortable situation and remove yourself from it or somehow disengage or change that situation, then on the other side of that is this beautiful 10 of cups, which is emotional fulfillment to the highest degree. So very funny, a lot of similarity with my Aquarius to some degree. So a little different, of course, because you're different, but that's what I'm seeing for you, Pisces. If that resonates, please let me know in the comments down below. Don't forget to give me a thumbs up, subscribe, share with your friends, and also just have a beautiful day. Bye.